time to watch all the moves. They're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making ORCA fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. ORCA's all say, don't come for me. Midler's roots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk ORCA game. ORCA King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Dani and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show. They're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the ORCA Pod, the Apex Predators of Survivor LRG podcasting. We are back covering our countdown. We started this, 2 years ago, and we had everyone in the community vote for all of the 11 seasons that were out at that time, and we had them ranked. We have covered 8 seasons in this context, and now we move into the final 3, the bronze medalist, Backyard Survivor 4, Redemption. If we were just, I don't know how people voted for the best season, but if they voted based on how emotional it was and how it tugged at their heartstrings, this would have been number 1, I would suspect. If it was based purely on production quality, it's probably number 1 as well. But there are aspects that are great. There are aspects that are not so great. Maybe this was number 3, but it's mostly great, and that's why we're here to talk about. We're going to have 4, maybe 5 weeks of coverage on Backyard Survivor 4. We will, of course, have the deep dive. Strap in. They normally go for 2.5 to 3 hours, and this is a long season. Then we will also have, I hope, a deep dive with the winner. Salvador, I've DM'd you. Come back to me, please. Don't leave me hanging. Of course, the tea party will be back. We may or may not have a special show to be announced. I like to have the special shows in these final 5 that we've been doing. And, of course, then we will catch up with production, talk about the final season in our coverage with Kyle and Brian, and crown the ORCA of the season, the most coveted award in all of LRG land. Whether you're in Australia or in America, those Americans are just jealous that you can't become an ORCA because you need to play in Australia. We finally got the one up. There's no tariff from being an ORCA. It just requires you to be amazing. And we will have to discuss, perhaps through tonight, who we are thinking might get those ORCA vibes. I know there's some members of the cast very, very keen to receive that very, very prestigious award, an award that can never be taken away from you. You can put on your tombstone and be with you for life. It's really the most important thing that will happen to whoever it is awarded to. Joining me, of course, for our coverage of this amazing season is my lovely co-host. First, let me welcome Dani.
Hi.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Let's be clear. There's one member of the cast who wants to be the ORCA. I think everyone else would be happy. There's one person who really wants it bad. And they may be disappointed.
Everyone dreams of ORCA fame. Everyone.
I know, but there's one in particular who's out there for it. He's campaigning. He wants it bad.
He wants it very bad. I do agree. He's very keen. And let me welcome our other host, Jules. Welcome.
That's the one.
All we heard of Backyard 5 was Mark saying, well, I want to beat Josh. And now Josh wants to beat Mark, or at least equal Mark, and get that ORCA award. And I'm sorry, Josh. I love you. I adore you. But you're probably not getting my vote for ORCA. Because he's too understated. And that's a good thing. ORCAs are too, bro, I'm the ORCA. I'm the best person of the season. Josh is too, I'm sneaky.
Josh is done a disservice by being an underdog most of the game, and it's very difficult to display ORCA abilities while you're an underdog and also make it to 5th place. You can strong palm people all you like when you don't have the numbers. You just get voted out like most of the ORCAs do. But you've really got to be in the numbers to make it a long way and be ORCA. And 5th would be the highest an ORCA has ever got, so it is possible. Ethan was 5th. Jess was 5th. So fifth has been done. I don't think we've ever had higher than fifth. So it is possible. But, we'll have to wait and see. Now, you should be. We are just 3 humble votes. You should be campaigning to the Congress. Make sure Mark send you his vote. So maybe he won't. Maybe Mark will just.
Mark is going to be able to vote. So
Mark will be able to vote this time around. Yep.
Let's just get into it because it's a long one. First episode. Now, I don't think I'd be making a over-the-top comment to say the first 5-6 minutes of this first episode are the most spectacular 6 minutes ever put together in any Australian LRG. It is cinematic. It is planned, directed, and shot deliberately to be an incredible start to the show.
Just that image of them all coming over the hill, that's awesome.
But I just love how the hosts are there and they come up behind them at the exact right point. It's two blah blahs, two blah blah, and then they come across. It's amazing. It's like they've obviously planned that and they've shot it, but to get that to work with that many different people, to get the timing right, get the shot right. You probably get one shot at it. You're not doing it twice when you've only got a couple of days to film, and it is perfect. I love it.
And
the whole thing is great.
Struggle to get over, and seeing that gives you vibes of real Survivor.
Josh is still, of course, working on himself. He's really trying to get this award. He reckons Mark will throw his votes off him just to bully him. I think that's a possibility. Okay, so
that's the Orca thing to do.
He might influence the other orcas in the Congress as well. I don't know. There's also, while they're doing all these things, little segments with everybody. And Kyle and Brian have learned a lesson from season 3, where we got an interview or a confessional with every single person. They all went for 5 fucking minutes, and it was endless. These are snappy little bits. One line.
And they're peppered in.
Yeah. And they're one line, actually great lines, but also tells you about them. Josh is the nicest bitch you'll ever meet. That's his line.
Accurate.
Boo likes spelling her name at people. F you.
I love that.
Yeah. Dan is here to eat chewing gum. He's doing that sort of thing from that Roddy Piper movie. Fu is here for manipulations, not manifestation.
That whole confessional, then I was like, yes, I'm in love with this person.
I love Fu so much. I'm going to have a lot of positive things to say about a lot of people. This is a strong cast, but Fu's going to be up there for me. I love her.
She's our kind of player, Jules.
Yeah, exactly. We need to find out her sign. If she's a Scorpio, then she's in with us. No, I think she mentioned she's a Leo, didn't she?
Oh, of course. That makes sense.
She mentioned that later, yeah.
That makes sense.
I like how, let's get in now. They bring in the first boots. What do we think of the concept of the 3 returning first boots?
I love it.
I love it.
I desperately want real life Survivor to do a first boots, first merge boots sort of a season. I think it'd be such fun.
The concept is first boots versus merge boots versus no boots, who are losing finalists.
Oh,
okay.
I like that.
ALRG, we're listening.
Yeah. And I'm none of those things, so I'm not even doing this to promote myself. I'm just trying to get.
I am.
I'm getting determined that Christy is the merge boot, not you. I'm sorry. This was determined last week.
I'm not returning. I'm coming back. I'm the merge boot.
I'm trying to get my buddy Max back on something. Just kind of help me out.
Look, I love it as a concept, but I just think we got the worst possible outcome for one of them, and it's just absolute heartbreak, which we'll get into when we get to the end of this episode. That was that when they put this together, they were like, "This is worst case scenario that someone gets Francesca'd."
We'll talk about
that's exactly what happened. So it's just
I would like to say that it is horrible, absolutely horrible, but it is the best case scenario from a television point of view. From the poor person, it's horrible. But I actually really love the way that one of them goes first, one of them almost makes the final 3, and if they did, they would have won, and the other person goes around the middle. I think that sort of storytelling you can't make happen, and I find that really like compelling. For seeing every one of them play their own unique story, and they all do sort of have their own unique story.
100%.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's good that they got all 3 of them. They've had 3 previous seasons. They got all 3 of the first boots. I don't know that many LRGs could do that because a lot of time the first boots are just, they kind of want to separate themselves. It's not a positive thing for them. So it would be really difficult to get, like, can you imagine, I don't know, would Canberra be able to do that?
no,
Would
Sam
probably not.
would not do that. No, absolutely not. So
yeah,
I think
it says a lot about the community of Backyard.
That's right, and hats off to the community. Absolutely.
Come back.
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm glad they finally have a 2-day game, that the jury is only from day 2. These are incredibly important game mechanics that we all feel very strongly about from our many discussions. Finally, the way it should be. We do get an interesting moment here with Fiona, who doesn't know who any of the first boots are. Does that mean she didn't watch John's season, like, at all? Like, did she not watch Exile?
I wouldn't surprise her.
Exile, about Yards Apart. Did Fiona not watch Yards Apart?
Probably not.
The breakfast is good. I like this. I like the food meet and greet. It's a good way for everyone to get to know each other, particularly as they're doing a schoolyard pick. I think that's actually really critical. But equally, we get the situation where once again, Kyle and Brian, they need to take some of their passion and make an escape room and put all their little puzzles in that, right? Because
this was too hard.
The game of Survivor, everyone is focused on playing the game. They're trying to meet. You just threw them all together. Building relationships is number 1. This is an opportunity to build relationships. If you're off trying to decipher puzzles on the fucking flag, you're going to get yourself voted out.
100%.
But I will say the clues were impossible, but the idol was not that well hidden. Someone should have found that.
And they
just
gave it to them. It's the same idol they just gave to the winner.
No, I know, but like I'm surprised no one found it. Like it's just sitting there. So, but those clues were just. I don't think you needed clues. Just hide it in an obvious place.
Yeah, the clues. They were just too complicated. Like, and they're flashing it up like we're supposed to know these. Josh says at the breakfast he put his hand right next to the idol and didn't feel it. That would have been boring, man, because he just would have played it on himself. That would have been his interest.
Yeah.
And apparently Michael was sitting right on top of it. We got the Virat crew in the chat live tonight. Good to see you boys. Now Fiona doesn't know.
And Matt C. I want the whole Virat 4 here.
Well, they're not here yet. It's earlier in Perth. Holly, she's done her research because she not only obviously knows the people she's played with, but she recognizes Matt B from online comments.
Matty C.
Matt C.
Matt C from online comments. How many comments is Matt C doing like on YouTube videos for Backyard?
I don't know. He's not a very active online person, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Maybe he used to be. But before these podcasts,
I just recognized him from crewing season 2 because I assumed that.
I don't think he crewed season 2. I think this was the first. I don't think he crewed then.
Well, no, because remember in his intro video, he was like, "I think I could play anonymously here because I haven't been a part of his community yet." So I don't think he had crewed for Backyard yet.
No, and he just flew over to help because that's who he is, and luckily got cast, which is amazing. I love some of these conversations. I love Jake going to David. How'd you find out about Survivor? He's like, I like Backyard Survivor. He's like, I was on the first season, but we are following what just happened. Of course, Jake had to get his parents' permission to come play. So he's young, he's naive. That's fine.
We find out that Jake and Casper Casper just turned 18.
Yeah, they're babies.
Yeah. Like little babies.
And then I like the bit. I interviewed Rachel on her original boot when I was doing this before it was the ORCA pod, joining in with JP. And my question to her, I was very critical of her. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be something else. Like, this is so original. Now, I did this, of course, and I did it very effectively. No one suspected that I was a lawyer. I'm still a douchebag, but no one suspected that I was a lawyer. They all thought I was a musician, douchey musician. you got to pick, if you're going to lie about what you do, you need to pick something you know about. And they immediately start peppering her with questions about journalism. She's got no fucking clue. Like,
Yeah,
you're
no.
the best newsroom. Like, it's a complete fail. However, the fact that Boo is is anti-Fee because Fee told everyone she's a lawyer meant that Rachel was definitely on the right track.
I made that note. I was just like, and this is why lawyers lie about their job for this reason. Everyone's instant thought about Fee was like, oh.
Yeah, like I thought about lying when I played because at the time I was a cop and I was thinking about lying. I didn't, but if I did, I think I was going to basically describe my job, but just not quite say that I was a cop. I was going to talk about being an admin and all the paperwork side of things that I do, because that could be really genuine.
Yeah.
So I think you need to either be something adjacent to what you do or something you know a lot about. You know, if you've got a relative or someone, just copy everything they say about their job.
Well, Scott, in my season, who was also a police officer, didn't tell anyone he was a police officer. He said he was a manager at an Audi, which he used to do. Yeah. That's what he used to do. So, like, you've got the information.
Something you know about, yeah.
Yeah. I want to mention this is point where they realize they've got two Matts. This is a very side note, and they go, "What are we going to call you both?" And then Matt C says you can call him Marty. And I don't think for the rest of the entire show anybody calls him Marty. I don't think anyone in his entire life has called him Marty. But I call him Marty from time to time just purely because of this. And I think that he's always like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But like to me, he'll always be Marty.
We've got Matt C and Matt B. That's fine, but it can't have two Rachels.
Well, then he's supposed to be Marty. He's supposed to be Marty, but no one's embracing this.
But even Carl doesn't embrace it. He goes, "Oh, we'll see how the day goes." He doesn't say, "Yeah, okay, Marty, we'll call you that." He's like, "Yeah, we'll see how the day goes." And there's like, no.
I feel like
you don't like that nickname you gave yourself.
He calls her the other Rachel, and they're like, "No, it's not the other Rachel, it's Foo. Like, let's get this right." Like, they're very good about that, but not with the Matts.
I think we can just handle the Matts because we've been conditioned by the Spice Girls.
This is true.
Like the Matt C, Matt B, the Mel C, Mel B. That's in our head. That's in our slappies.
Couldn't have Rachel R and Rachel F?
No, too much. We already have.
It's a Matt. It's a Matt. Like it's quick.
And it's the same in English. It's B and C. We've been conditioned to handle a group which contains a Mel B and a Mel C, or a Matt B and a Matt C, by years of following the Spice Girls in the 90s.
Okay, but so if it's David with the hat and David without the hat. If it's Jason, it's Jason Muscles or Jason Hat.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But if it's a woman, my goodness, they can't have the same name.
Well, no one tells me got a great name. Like
either. If there was another Danny, I'd probably go by D, or like I'd switch out my name.
I'll call you Danielle.
No. Yeah.
You could be Julia.
Do not call me Julia.
Jules could be Julia.
You can't even say that without laughing.
All right, so I like how Sal was pocketing bananas in my head. I'm like, has he taken the right banana? Wouldn't that be fun? But I don't think he did. Because he was pocketing like a lot of bananas. Because there was like I think the bananas had like 10 marks on it.
He could bring them back to his tribe. So he could be like, look at me, I'm for the tribe.
I think for a second I thought there was like a clue in the banana, but no, it was just like
a few of them had different, but they were not all the same ones. So I was like, clues were too complicated.
Way too complicated. Okay, so then we get the tribe pick. Does anyone have... I think the tribe pick generally makes sense. We have David picking first, and he takes Dan, who looks, fit, which I guess is happy to make these calls. Holly takes... Well, it's interesting that David doesn't take Michael, because at the breakfast, David knows Michael and is trying to, like, buddy up to him, saying, we know each other. Let's
Michael's like, "No, I'm good."
Michael's like, "No." And David's smart enough. He's playing a second time. He's got his thinking brain on. He's learned, even though he only played for 5 minutes or whatever in that hot sun, he's learned, and he identifies that Michael was not receptive. So he doesn't pick him. Smart.
Yeah. Although I think in his mind, it's a connection for him to have on another tribe, which is what you want.
Maybe. I think in the tribe of 6, you want numbers.
That's true.
So David's tribe is Dan, Fiona, Jake, Fu, Julie is, expectedly sort of last, one of the last one's picks. I think that's a fairly sensible, strong tribe with a good mix.
I think of the entire pick order, the only real thing for me that I can see as being a bit out of place, Josh being second last, he wasn't even injured yet. Like I think pre-injury, he probably would have been very strong at challenges. It's just unfortunate he broke his leg in the first challenge. But it's just, I don't know why he was picked so late.
He was stewing about it. He was stewing about it the same way Mark was stewing about not getting picked in our draft. Just sitting there, like seething. That how is he sick? How did Julie get picked in front of him? Like, no offense to Julie, but she's like a 60-year-old woman. Like
60. She's probably in her 40s. Let's be real.
I'm in my 40s.
All right. So I'm almost in my 40s, to be fair.
Yeah. So she's an older woman. It's quite insane that he got picked after her by David. Obviously, David and him may have not connected or did connect, but not in a way that David felt was positive at the breakfast.
He did say in his picks he wanted to pick a few people to be strong and then a few people to just be on the outs.
Do you think he's picked Julie to be the first boot from his tribe?
I think so.
Which he was. It's actually pretty smart, to be honest, because at the very least he's got Dan and Jake, and they look like the kind of guys that are just going to boot the old woman. So, he's just trying not to be the boot here, right? I think that's actually really strategic. Josh being in that group is uncertain as to who's going to
I think of all the people to be the last pick, Joe is the best one. Everyone else would have been salty, and she's just like, oh, well. Shit happens. I'm sorry, my dog's picked up a squeaker toy, so I'm going to go and take care of that.
It's a very smart play, and it's the sort of play I should have played in that drunk Viber, where we were doing a picks, and I basically made sure that everyone in my swap tribe was people I was aligned with, and I'm like, fuck, who are we voting out? And it all turned to a mess. Should have dragged one of Tara's rando friends in that we could have easily booted. That was a mistake on my part. Whereas Jules knows what I'm talking about. I should have dragged one of those randos. I shouldn't have brought Mel in last. It was stupid. Anyway. David is playing the smart. I like it. Holly goes Matt C. She knows him. He's nice. Michael has a nice look about him. Michael does have a nice look about him. I trust him.
Yeah. Great face. Yeah.
Rachel Ken also. I think Holly's a very nice looking, nice, positive tribe. And then Kiara, I think, probably makes this tribe does well, so we can't really criticize it. Obviously, it does fucking well. It's just all over the shop. But on the paper, this tribe doesn't look incredibly strong.
It's real higgledy-piggledy.
I think, who do you have on that tribe that's a challenge beast on the outset of it? Sal. If you're looking at the men, you're not looking at Sal as this huge challenge beast. If you're looking at the women...
Sal gives me challenge vibes.
No, I know, but just looking at them, I would be looking more at your Matt C's, at your Jake's, rather than Sal.
Oh, as a whole. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Matt C's already gone, so she would be going Jake. And I can see why Kiara is not picking Jake. What actually doomed Kiara on her season was a group of people like Jake. See, Jake's just a dead name to her. And Samara and Ben and Hal. And it was the pretty fit people who just booted her out, right? That's the last thing she needs in her tribe. The pretty fit people. She needs a slight mix of different personalities, of interesting personalities, and then give Kiara a chance. People like Val and Joe. I think she's really Joe comes last. You probably should pick Joe earlier. But I think Kiara makes sensible choices about who's going to help. I think this perhaps is part of Holly's downfall. I think David makes sensible choices about who's likely to keep him in the game. I think Kiara makes sensible choices about who's likely to keep her in the game. I think Holly just picks a good tribe, but that she is not focused on her own safety.
Yeah, I think the other two looked at their tribe as a whole when they're like, all right, who are the people I've got? Who am I going to add to this? Holly's like, right, of all the people left, who's the best one? Yeah, these people. I didn't think about how they come together. It's the mentality of a team of champions versus the champion team.
Yeah.
She picked the people on paper that looked the best in challenges, and spoiler alert, they weren't.
People like Joe weren't going to vote you out first, Holly. People like Julie were not going to vote you out first, Holly.
Never.
They could have made better choices to avoid getting booted when they did. I think Ken was the right choice in that regard. I don't think if Ken could have been part of a majority with her, he would have been. I think he was generally a nice guy at first, but she chose a couple of savages and they destroyed him.
Yep.
Josh, interesting comment from Josh, who thinks that had he gone to blue, despite how he was so offended that Julie was picked before him, he would have been at the bottom. So it did work out for him. Now, we're at 27 minutes the episode and 27 minutes the podcast, so we probably need to make it a bit faster.
I think at the start you need the episode one.
You're going to run through everybody. Yeah.
When we get to the episode sort of 2 through the merge, we can not yada over, but there'll be a lot. We will.
I like this gazebo search thing. That's a good way of splitting people up so they can look for idols.
I love when there's an activity at the start.
Yes.
Meet chat. You see Jake
Force
and Dan
people to start playing straight away.
Make them break
Sal
his conversations.
Sal does realize the bananas has letters spelled logo. That actually fucking drive me crazy. If I had these bananas and went to they spelled logo, I'd be like, what logo? What is it? Where? When it was all the way fucking back,
But can I go back? Yeah. It's so frustrating.
Now we go to the challenge, and this is a great looking challenge, particularly the
bit at the end
pulling thing. Now, I think people should be entitled to choose who does what. But considering 2 of the first boots are on the ball wall, I really would have liked to have seen Holly on the ball wall as well. Like I'm not saying they should have made that happen because I'm in 2 minds about it. But from a TV perspective, you had the 3 of them competing for who wasn't going to go to tribal. Now, I don't think Red even made it up to the ball wall, so it doesn't really matter. And who's to blame? That's the question. But if they had all been there,
campaigning for ORCA of the season.
If they'd all been there at the same time, it would have been, I think, a pretty epic moment.
100%.
And like the idol just like falls out of the reward.
Drew's like, oh, what's this?
And in that moment, it's lucky, like she says, it's lucky that this was for another tribe. So even though I found it, that doesn't make me threatening because I have to give it away. So I'm not suddenly like target, number 1.
The whole conversation here, now, as we've talked about, is it the savagery of the Barack 4 who vote out Holly here? Or is it the fact that production purposely put in an idol for the purposes of saving the first boot? I know that's not what it's meant to do, but like 9 times out of 10, you give a tribe an idol to give to another tribe, and they can save one person on one tribal council. Most people just go, well, let's just give it to the first boot person so they don't get like booted.
In their defense, if I'm on the blue tribe, I'm like, there's no way Holly's going to be the first boot again. She is the safest person on that tribe. Let's give it to someone who might be in danger. It won't be Holly.
The only person who mentioned it was Dan.
Yeah.
And Fu immediately dismisses him on it.
Well, I think, because they would have thought she was going to be safe. I think they gave it to Ken because they thought Ken was potentially going to be in trouble.
And I guess, but Josh was the one that stuffed up the challenge because he injured himself and then he couldn't get through the rope thing. I love the confessional when we come back, and Josh really like to harping him up here, where he's like trying to throw shade on Holly's performance in the challenge because the bit she did wasn't very hard. Not saying that she got hers done. Like, it didn't, like maybe it took her like 5 seconds longer than the other tribes, but it's like, she wasn't any good either. So like maybe we should vote her out.
And like I know that Josh gets injured here, but it doesn't seem that is what slows him down. He gets tangled up in the rope. That's kind of. He might have been distracted by the fact that he's suddenly in a lot of agony, but I think the leg is more of a factor in every challenge after this. This one, it's that he got tangled up.
Obviously, it was probably hurting every time he went over. Yeah, but there is no excuse for why his rope management was completely out the fucking door. And then he wants to blame Holly for the challenge failure. That's a little bit ORCA.
I think you got to immediately blame someone else when you know it's your fault. You got to, no, it's someone else. It's not me. I did really well. I don't
know. Do people actually vote people out because like they did bad at the challenge?
In this season, they appear to. In this season, it's a major focus of people in the beginning.
I would never vote off one challenge, but if you look at someone and go, this person is going to suck at it's going to be a matter of where do we put them in a challenge. If they're a liability in future challenges, yes.
it's only going to be Josh doesn't look like he's going to be a liability in future challenges. He
No.
looks fit and healthy and capable. And as Michael says here, he built connections with Josh and Ken, right? So yes, if Josh had not made connections with anyone, he could have been in some trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
But he made the connections. People weren't wanting to vote him out. To be honest, Holly's the only one that doesn't seem to have built many connections. Like this seems to be the factor in Holly's boot. And perhaps with what Michael just said there, Michael was the driving force of it being Holly, maybe. In that, and you do see this in the edit a bit.
I saw Michael as sort of being the one in charge of that vote.
Well, because he wants it to not be Ken and not be Josh. And then if he wants that, then who it can only be Holly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Rachel or Matt.
No.
And I get that from Michael because the Barrack 4 hasn't fully formed yet. And if he thinks he's got Ken and Josh, and I know they go a different way, but he thinks he's got a 3-2 majority if they go back in. So it makes a lot of sense for him. It makes a lot of sense for Josh, whose name is on the sort of potential cutting room. I guess potentially it makes the least sense for Rachel. She doesn't feel great about Josh at this point, or really ever in the game, despite what Josh thinks is going on. And she has the relationship with Holly. You see her and Matt with Holly. Like, they could go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they're making a decision, and no one decides, should we do the nice thing? This is just an LRG. This is just people playing. We're not playing for money. And, you come out here, you put yourself on the line, to play this sort of game and get booted first, which is very, very tough, I am sure. Come out again. Should we vote that person again? Sure.
I couldn't do it, I don't think. I don't think I could do it.
You couldn't do that vote?
I don't think so.
No, I couldn't either.
I could do it for the first bit on my season. I couldn't do it for this one.
So if you were playing with JT again, his name's not happening. You're not voting him.
No, I will.
So you would do it?
For this, it depends on what it was. For Holly, I don't think I could. JT, I could.
I think it's different when it's someone you don't know. Like,
yeah.
I think that's different. I think that's a difference. Yeah, if I knew of Holly's fate prior, but I didn't know her as a player, we hadn't played together, I didn't have a personal relationship, I would have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
I have my own personal relationship with JT, so that's why I'd be like, yeah, bye. Well, but with Holly, I don't think I could.
That's about him. When the only thing you know about a person is
that they were the first boot.
They were the first boot of their season. You're not going to vote them out first again. I think this is the only combination of absolute bitches, and I'm going to call the Barrack 4 all bitches.
Bitches.
The only ones willing to do that.
Bitches 4.
The bitches 4.
Bitches
That's
4,
a better
I like
name. We're changing their tribe name from Barrack to bitches.
And I think Foo's partly to blame. She should have given the idol to.
No, I'm going to give Foo the benefit of the doubt and say that she just assumed that Holly would be safe.
Well, look, obviously you really like Foo, and that's great, but
I love Foo.
Don't hear a bad word about Foo.
No.
Now, if Foo had given the idol to Holly, did she vote for Ken or did she vote for Josh?
She voted for Ken, I believe, but I think it's because she was given his name. I think if she had the idol, she probably would have maybe tried to do something else.
You're a bitch.
Josh says he stands by the Holly vote.
Josh, I'll call you a bitch every day. You know this.
I mean
it as a term.
I'm like, Josh is so vicious here. I have a note saying he's so vicious.
He said this last week, right, when we did the countdown. He stands by the vote. But it doesn't matter. You could have voted Ken here. I guess you couldn't because Ken had the idol.
Yeah, if they voted for Ken, Holly still would have gone.
Yeah, but then only Ken has the guilt. But they're guilt-free.
But again, I think if Ken thinks, because Ken, I think, knew that Holly was the vote. If he thought it was going to be a unanimous vote on him, same thing, he would have thrown his vote to someone else.
Probably not Josh, though.
No.
Probably like Rachel. I think he wasn't clicking very well with Rachel.
I don't know, but he wouldn't have voted for someone else who's on the bottom.
Yeah, I think Rachel. He had a relationship with Michael. He had one with Josh. If he's saving Holly, it's Matt or Rachel, and I think that he wasn't clicking well with Rachel, and you'd rather keep Matt for challenges.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can speculate all we want, but yeah, that's what happened. They voted out Rachel. They voted out Holly.
It's a savage vote, the most savage vote in the history of LRGs. She looks so devastated.
Yeah. Well, when we go to the next episode,
I thought that the ending is great, though. What I love about the edge is it's right next to the other bit, and it's over that hill, and the edge is just a wasteland, and the other bit is so nice and green.
It's gross.
Oh, it's brilliant.
So it's her walking into that desolate wasteland.
I'm like, I knew it was going to happen, but I was just still like, oh my God, my heart hurts. Oh, rip my heart out.
It's epically good. Like, we can say it's savage. I can't believe someone Francesca'd someone, etc., Beric for, and it's horrible.
She even references Francesca at Tribal, who was like, oh no, it would be like, don't be Francesca, but you can do it anyway.
But from a TV point of view, it's an emotional ride that we're all here for. It's amazing. 100%.
But we like episode 2. We start on redemption with Holly there, and in her opening little confessional, she goes through all the stages of grief just then and there. Like at first, she's just sitting there speechless, like no idea what to say, and then she talks about how she's really salty, but comes around to but someone has to go first. Oh, I don't want to. Like she's all over. She's got all the emotions all at once. And then she says something that breaks my heart, that even if she does get back in, she'd probably just get voted out again. Like, oh my God.
The moment when she's like,
watching it on 2 times speed.
You were crying in 2 times. Just tears is pouring down like that emoji, and then there's pooling up next to you.
Yeah.
The moment where she's like, well, better me than someone else because I've already had this. I'm like, no, it's gotta be.
Better anyone else than you.
It's got to be like being first boot's tough. It's got to be like 10 times worse to first boot the second time, doesn't it?
I think Kiara described it as like it's the ultimate social rejection. So to have it happen twice, because that's the other thing. Like a lot of the time with first boots, it comes down to someone says a name and they don't want it to be them. So let's just jump on board that. And there's a bit of randomness to it. When it happens twice, though.
It's hard not to take that personal. How do you not take that personally?
Do we think that she was at least holding on to the technicality that if she survived a challenge, she wouldn't technically be the first boot, at least on our ordering? But that didn't happen either. As we will talk about in episode 3.
I don't know. I don't think she's really thinking about that at all.
I'd be thinking about that. I'd be thinking about where I'm going to be in the wiki.
I think it doesn't matter what your placement is. First boot is still first boot.
Yeah.
Nah, if she gets back in, like Amy is not the first boot.
If she gets back in, yes. But if she doesn't get back in, I think
Amy's not the first boot in Canberra 3.
But she wasn't the first boot in Canberra 3 anyway.
Yeah, fine, but she's not the second boot in Canberra 3 either.
We're getting into the weeds of the technicalities here. But
I think when it's a Age of Extinction style and like one person gets back in, yeah, you're all in the order you got booted. It doesn't matter how you finish in that challenge. But when people are getting knocked out in redemption style challenges, I think that's your boot order.
Mm. Yeah, but she's not thinking. That's not what she's thinking about. It's the heartbreak of I'm the first person that was voted out again.
If she was thinking about it, she'd be more heartbroken in about 3 episodes' time.
All right. Well, she's not an ORCA. She's not thinking about what her placement on the wiki is. I think at that point, was there even a wiki?
Of course there wasn't.
But anyway, enough about Holly, because we're 40 minutes in and we're 5 minutes into the second episode. It's going to be a long night if we keep this up. But we go to the Red Tribe and Ken shares information about his idol, and he even shows everyone the note, which I think is the smartest thing he could have done, because he's like, I didn't find this. I wasn't being sneaky. Someone gave this to me. Here's the note that says someone has given you this idol. So, because Josh is trying hard to throw Ken under the bus.
This guy
he's like, he's sneaky looking for idols. And he's like, oh, shit, someone gave it to him. Well, I'm still going to push him under the bus.
He still was given one.
He was still given. Why was he given one?
There's a confessional where Josh is like, after it's revealed, where he's like, where do you get that idol? I'm a super sus. And I feel like that's way out of place. Like,
oh, yeah.
But it makes Josh look like more of a psychopath.
They go back to Josh and he's like, oh, well, I'm still going to throw him under the bus.
Yeah. He is very unhappy. He's going to throw him under the bus. I think Josh feels in danger, and he needs another target.
Yes, he's definitely feeling in danger, and rightly so.
Mark's
here.
Orca Mark is here, just questioning the legitimacy after what?
Especially when there's paperwork too. Like it's not like he's
Actual
just
paperwork.
saying it and he's like, oh, I'm sus on that. It's like the
Well,
paperwork.
we've been
You can't question the legitimacy from there.
We've been informed more on this behavior. Josh has been best friends with Mark for a long time, and Mark just makes shit up with this stuff all the time. Maybe Josh is like, maybe Ken is the Orca mastermind that my good friend Mark is, and somehow he's concocted this note.
That puts a lot. Knowing Mark now, that puts a lot of context in what Josh
was it ripped in anywhere? Has he taken bits off the bottom of it? No one can see how.
Has he handwritten that bit on? But if you've been given an idol.
Yeah.
I think he's just baffled partially because, like, why would they give it to Ken? Like, he's probably sitting there going, why didn't they give it to Holly? Like, this is baffling.
They don't
reveal, like, why did that come to me? Why isn't that my idol?
They don't reveal who gave it to him. Like, they don't know what tribe it was from or who it was. So I would just put it down to, all right, it's obviously someone that bonded with Ken at that breakfast. Good for him. He's still going to go next.
This is still a better plot point than if someone had solved the convoluted puzzle, or Michael or Josh had picked up the idol because they sat on it, because it would be boring if it ended up on the red tribe. It was a better structure, assuming this was the structure and the breakfast thing wasn't something else. Who knows? Because there's so much shit that wasn't found in this season.
I think it was.
Yeah. But it was better to have it being on the winner's tribe to decide, because it's more interesting than it ending up on the actual tribe that was going. Because then you just play it on yourself. It's not interesting.
Yeah, I agree. So then after that, we spend a bit of time at each camp, and we're just getting some information about the power dynamics on each tribe. We go to Red, and we're seeing that Rachel and Matsy, they're the power duo at this point. But then also Josh and Michael are getting close, so we're seeing what's going on there. We go to Blue. We've got Dan and Jake doing some bonding. Jake has got some early Orca energy, I want to say that, because he's there going, do I think I'm in trouble? Nah, I'll be right. And then he's like doing this with his hair just so much. Like he needs a mirror out there. He loves it. And Dan's also talking about...
I don't know if that's Orca energy or just the energy that a 17-year-old man has. Particularly one that does boxing or whatever he does. Yeah, we'll allow it, but still, the fact that he's very confident. Yeah. But yeah, so those two are bonding, and Dan also really likes Fu, but so does everyone. We see every single person there talking about how much they like Fu, and including me. I love Fu, but anyway. And then we go to Yellow, and we're not really seeing any like this person is close with this person. They're one big happy family. They're all together, and Kiara's just happy to not be the first boot. Hold on to that thought, Kiara. You're going to be around for a while. And the only real dissension in that tribe, it's the first time that Casper is going to suggest that Matt has the idol, and that is going to be a theme for this entire season. Casper's idea that Matt B found the idol so early, and he's not going to change his mind. Matt B has the idol. I think to the minute he gets voted out, he's like, nah, Matt B's got the idol. Apparently, Josh says that Jake never thought he was a boxer. He was being strategically. He said he was an actor. Like,
that's
now
weird.
Again, I wouldn't believe Jake is an actor like at all, and I certainly wouldn't believe him when I'm watching him next to Dan all day, who's just doing comical faces every moment he can, who actually is an actor. Yeah. Like, if I was Jake, I would have said I was doing some modeling or something. If he wanted to go with something like that, I'd believe that. I wouldn't believe he's an actor.
Model, yeah. Maybe he's saying he's a model / actor.
Yeah, a Mactor.
Yeah.
Jake's the kind of guy that goes on Love Island. Let's get real. Or like, Fuckboy Island. That's a Jake show.
Reality TV star.
Yeah, he could be on Maps in a couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised.
And I still wouldn't watch it.
If someone from this community was on Maps, that would be the one episode of Maps I'd ever watch.
Not doing it. Can't deal with it. Anyway, I only can watch reality TV if they're playing a game. If it's Survivor or Drag Race, sign me up. But if it's anything else, I'm not watching.
Fuckboy Island, you watching on that?
No.
It's a game.
No. We go to the challenge, and everyone is shocked to see Holly as the first boot. David even says, I had nightmares about this. They're all just like, you fucking asshole. I can't believe you did that. I think it's the biggest reaction we have seen in any LRG to a vote.
Of course, because a vote, yeah. I guess because, in most cases you can conjure up the reasoning of why that occurred. Maybe that person looked very fit, or if you don't get the dynamics, you don't know the dynamics after you're 2 or 3 votes in. Obviously, there's alliances, whatever, but you just assumed that they wouldn't do that because they're not savage people.
That's what a nice person would do.
Yeah,
exactly.
But anyway, we have the challenge where
the game was sort of like an obvious alternate target. Like, you'd be looking there and go, if I was looking and they go, who's going to go? I probably would have said Ken, like if I was on the other tribes.
Well, that's probably why they gave him the idol.
Well, I suppose. Foos just fucking shit up. Did she know she doomed for Holly?
But again, you're not thinking that he's going to throw his 1 vote on Holly, assuming that's the narrative you've convinced yourself of.
Ken's not like as a super strategic player. If she met him at the breakfast, she would know that.
Yeah, fair. But yes, we go to the challenge. This time, only 1 tribe is going to win immunity. We've got them all holding onto the platform, spelling out victory. But after 30 minutes, they can't do it, so they go to Victor. Brian and Kyle are sitting there eating the picnic reward during the challenge. They're like, you keep going. That was quite funny. I think that's one thing Backyard does really well. They make it funny. And that's something I love watching on Real Survivor, when there's little jokes. We get some people providing the content in the confessionals, but even just like the way they edit stuff, the hosts themselves, some of the stuff they say, they're very funny.
Great.
James Wolfe is saying they should have voted out Josh O'Brien. He will bitch slap you from the comments.
He had an injured leg. It's devastating. Should be.
Yeah. But after all that, we get the Blue Tribe winning. And I believe them winning this one challenge is what doomed them all. Because when we're going back to camps to get like the vote strategy, the Yellow Tribe are like, well, Blue haven't lost anyone yet. When we swap, it's going to be a red-yellow alliance, and we're going to take out all the Blues. So then that one challenge is what sealed all of their fates. And it's actually Sal who's really pushing that narrative. And because he's saying, well, that if Blue's got the most numbers, so it makes sense for us to team up against them. But once we take out all Blue, Yellow will have the most numbers and we'll be able to roll through. It's brilliant forethought by him. And then he's not even factoring the fact that Val's going to come back from redemption. He's just like, well, yeah, it'll be 5-4. We'll take out all the Blues. We'll be in front.
This is some fascinating and quality insight from you, Jules. Now, and Salvador does do this. Look, I think there's this really interesting dichotomy of Salvador as a player, because I feel like the entire game he wants to be doing so much more, because I think he's a really big super fan who really wants to be playing big moves, and he sort of gets stuck in a kumbaya nice tribe and can just move them all like pawns and just rides that wave to the end of the game and wins, right? That is what happens, right? And I think there's times in the merge where he's sort of spinning off this planet a bit, because I think he really just wants to play, but then he keeps thinking, actually, I should just stick with this yellow crew. Yeah. It's insane that Val comes back and just joins back with them as well, by the way. Who could have ever, Mark says, a plan that boring could only be enacted by a straight man. Look, he's not wrong. I have my rankings of players, and I don't rank people just on the game they played. I sort of rank it on who was the most interesting and made fun big moves. And there's a lot of gay people in my top 10. But it's just the way it is for some reason.
They're superior, okay?
Yeah, well, I think the rankings when we do them will show that to be true. But yeah, look, you can tell in the merge, Salvador's really trying to be more interesting. But you're right, he sets it out right here. His winning tactic. It's insane that Val runs right back to them, by the way. Just insanity. We'll cover that at the merge. But
it's I think, you've summed it up perfectly. He wants to make big moves, but then he looks at it and goes, the smartest move for me is to make the boring move. It's to ride this alliance as, I would say, the second biggest threat in that group. Let us stick together, and then we'll take out the big threat and Kiara right at the end, and that's how I win. And that is what happened. But we're jumping ahead. If we go back here, there's a really interesting dynamic at Red because they're talking about Ken as the easy vote. But then Rachel has a confessional where she's like, I'm really tight with Matt. Josh and Michael are close. If we vote out Ken here, we could come back and then we might have a 2-2 tie. And she says, I'm not going to Rocks. Spoiler alert, she did go to Rocks later in the game. That 4 would become so tight that they were willing to go to Rocks for each other. But I just thought it was so funny, her saying that and then being like, okay. So I love that. Yeah. I love that. So a lot of these other seasons that we've done in the countdown, I was watching for the first time and making notes as they go. This was one that I made my notes after I'd seen the whole season. And it's just, you pick up a lot more of these little things they put in there for fun that when that episode is being dropped, anyone who doesn't know what's going to happen is not paying attention to that. But the cast and crew are all having a little giggle to themselves. So I love this from them to put that in there. But yeah, so from Red, it's going to be a really easy Ken vote. They're suggesting that it might be Josh, but I think I wasn't fooled for a second. No. Yellow Tribe, same thing. They're breaking off into pairs, but it seems to be Val with Val being told Casper and Casper telling Val to vote for Matt B. And just Casper's already doing too much, which is why we love Casper.
Can we just say that Kiara gives a really cute confessional in this episode? Like she says,
yeah.
I haven't found an idol, but I think I found something better, a core group to move forward with. And I was just
just something she didn't have.
Like it's just such a first boot sort of thing where she's just really thinking about like how good I was in the first boot. I'm not going to be this boot either. Like I'm feeling good. Like it was just such a profound little moment in that confession. I was like, oh, that's really sweet.
Kiara had a particularly rough time in exile because her entire tribe, including the person that replaced her once she got voted out, made the merge. Like, she had no one, and every single person there, Kath obviously threw the battle back, but made the merge. It's insanity what her experience was on exile. So you can see how that's really informed her journey here, which I think is fascinating to watch. And so can you talk about it? And hers is not dissimilar to Holly. They're similar people with similar players. But the dichotomy of her, what she's valuing to what David's valuing is a great thing to watch as the rest of the season unfolds.
Yeah. But yeah, look, both tribals are fairly straightforward. Ken's voted out 4-1 and Belle's voted out 5-1. Like they're straightforward votes, but there's some nice little moments in there. That's all I have for episode 2 in terms of notes.
Well, then we go into episode 3. We go straight.
Look, I didn't want to have as many notes as I had for when we were going episode by episode because I didn't want to be here for like 6 hours. We could have easily sat here for 6 hours talking about this.
Episode 3, we go straight into redemption, and you see again Holly sitting there by herself, some sad music flowing underneath, and then like Ken going over, and he's like, yeah, I hugged her, everything's cool. But Ken tells Holly that she was the easy vote, and I was like, do you need to put the boot in? Like, is that completely necessary? He didn't like say it with any savagery in his voice, but just like it was like that was completely unnecessary thing for you to say at that point in time. It's just like, yeah, I'd be like.
From Ken's point of view, as he says, Holly voted for him, so he doesn't have any guilt.
No, he's the only one that has no guilt.
Yeah. No, I know, but you just have to tell her that she was the easy vote. Which is the first boot.
Well, people are looking for a reason that's not your personality, right? So anything that's not we voted you out because we don't like you as a person is a better explanation. So it was easy because you'd been booted before. Like,
I think what you meant to say there is, oh, look, I got told to vote for you and I heard my name was out there, so I just voted for you. I don't really know where it came from.
Ken's not a liar. This is not who Ken is. This is why they voted him out. He was going to do them no favors as a cohesive group moving forward in the game. No favors.
He would not have gone to Rocks for the Virac 4.
He would have flipped onto someone else who gave him a lollipop and a nice promise.
All right.
This is not who Ken is. Like, I don't know how he did a $1 Million Island, but I imagine he was very lovely and trusting on that too. I tried to look that up, by the way, because everyone's like, "Oh, he was on it," and somebody else. I don't think you can find it. He got cancelled before it even aired.
Anyway, so there we have that sad little redemption arc. Okay, let me go back to Yellow. Kiara's obviously feeling very bittersweet about the vote, but very happy to be still in the game. Then we go to Blue, and we see Caspar finger the idol clue out of the flag.
Finger the idol clue.
That's what she said. She said, "I fingered it out of there." Sorry, he says he fingered it out of there. Like, that's the actual quote. So I wrote it down. Then we go back to redemption, to the challenge. Holly has a good lead to start with. Val has a great strategy tying it on the floor before she hangs it up, which I thought was really, really smart.
Yeah, usually with that kind of challenge, they would put rules in place to say you need to hang it on there. Like a lot of time they would say you can't do it on the ground first because that is the better strategy.
Yeah.
But it's not better for TV.
Yeah, no. As soon as she laid it down, I was like, oh, she's got that. And then we just...
But we loved the reference to Matt from season 1 complaining about it.
Yes.
ORCA Matt. Let's be clear. Any future players of these games, you can do one or two things in this scenario. You can ask the question, can I do this? And they will say no or yes. But then most likely everyone else will, want to know what you asked, right? Or you can just do it. What are they going to do? In the middle of production say you can't do that? Maybe they will. Then you don't do it. Or you just let it go because, frankly, it doesn't get picked up in the moment. Are they going to redo the challenge? Is it against the rules? They probably haven't determined if it's against the rules or not. Don't let them make a decision. Just do it, and they'll probably let you go with it.
100%. Absolutely. Don't ask the question. And don't ask the question on the sly either, because likely production will go, but actually everyone should listen to this, and they're going to give away what your little advantage that you thought of was, especially if they say, yes, you can do that. Then everyone does it.
You can hack the challenge, hack it. Go for it.
Don't tell anyone. But don't ask.
Unless what you're doing is going to set you back so far, if they say you can't do it, there is no reason to tell Seal Any Secrets. Just see what happens when you're going for it.
Yeah, when we eventually do like a 3-hour deep dive for Melbourne 4, there is a point where I wanted to hack a challenge and I was like, no, I won't be allowed to do it. And I didn't do it. And I have so many regrets.
I'm pretty sure you asked me after the fact, could I have hacked it this way? I'm like, yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah.
I want to stop you.
But anyway.
In 3 years' time. And then we get some much more emotional TV
This
here.
bit's worse. This bit's worse than when she got voted out.
This was so much worse. Brian's emotional, crying. Like, it's like the worst, most agony. I was just like, oh, it is worse than the first episode. It's just like, because now we know that she's completely done. We don't, like, there's no more hope.
There's no other chance.
There's no more hope. We're all done here. Oh.
And it's, look, maybe I'm putting thoughts into her head, but I don't think she would have, from her confessional, she wasn't like, I'm going to beast these challenges. Like, I don't think her head was there, and I also don't think that's her skill set. And then she was actually winning the challenge, so the hope might have crept in. I can do this. I'm doing this. Oh, I didn't do it.
Yeah, I was like that too. I was like, yes, go, Holly, go.
And there were 2 spots. You just had to beat one person.
It's not come last.
It's a horrible journey for Holly. But I understand that she has continued to crew and remains part of the community. And,
love that.
Has taken this in her stride.
Oh, I love that. We love you, Holly.
Holly, if you ever want to come on Twellish, you are welcome. You have an open invitation.
Well, yeah, we'll see. There might be another show that I want to do.
Well, whatever. If you ever want to be on our show.
Yeah, sure. So you can come on 12. But I want to say that we made it to Joe's house. So this is her strength in the moment. It's very sad, but her strength and her resilience through the whole thing is incredibly admirable. We made jokes about how savage this is, but whatever it is, it happened, and she handles it. She's clearly emotionally affected by it, and it's fully understandable, but she handles it with such strength and resilience that I'm sure she is very proud of how she handled such a dark moment, to know that she could handle that with strength and with character.
Absolutely. I'm like, she's so gracious in defeat. Like, there's no part of her that is bitter. There's no, that's like, she's just like takes it in a stride, and it's just like the strength that you need emotionally to do that is huge.
Yeah.
All right, then we go back to yellow. Casper is idol hunting. She tells Kiara about the clue, so they are working together to find that.
Matt B must have it. Must.
Yeah, and then we get a confession of Matt B's targeting Joe and Caspar. We go to Blue. They're picnicking or kumbaya on the mats to start with. Fee was impressed by Jake's challenge performance. Dan is worried about being a physical target. And Jake then outs that he's aligned with Caspar. Like, he kind of tells him, yeah, I had a great little conversation with Caspar. And everyone's kind of like, that's weird. Why are you telling us about your cross tribal alliance? So that's thoughts on that, telling people that you have.
Oh, yeah, cross tribal. Yeah.
I can understand, if you're there talking about, hey, we might swap soon. So I think that I can bring Casper over to us. Like that, but to actually call it an alliance that's a big word to throw around.
I'm not sure that Jake has ever watched Survivor before and is not aware of these faux pas. He's a 17-year-old man, and I can tell you I was once a 17-year-old man. The confidence that flows through your veins is...
Are you saying you were more confident then than you are now?
Well, yes, and also I had nothing to back it up back then. Like
I think it's not confidence, it's cockiness. There's a difference. Confidence, you've got backing. You know why you are the shits. Cockiness, you're just like, I'm the shit because I say so. Yeah.
Side note, there's a video of me playing my first ever gig, right, on the bass guitar. I've been playing 4 months, and I remember thinking I was so fucking good. I still have this video. I was not very good at all, but I believed I was.
Yeah, I love it. They obviously get Fee reveals that she's related to John from season 2. And then you can just looking at them, you can clearly tell that there's a strong sibling resemblance between them. We get the formation of the water cooler voting block. David, Fu, and Dan. I'm talking about, we get Fu suspicious of David, so she's keeping him close. Fiona's suspicious of Fu. Everyone's suspicious of each other in this tribe. Yeah. They're all they're all higgledy-piggledy each other.
I love when those three are at the water and they're like, the other three are probably back at camp strategizing, and it's just like crickets.
Yeah, and they're just sat back. They're like, do. Hey.
Oh my God.
Meet the cast. Brian to Jake. Are you a fan of Survivor? Jake, yes. Brian, what do you think about idols on Survivor? Jake, yeah, it's great to have an idol to look up to. Look at Dan was his idol. Yeah.
That's very miscongeniality. What's
That's exactly what I was thinking. April 25th.
What's your ideal date?
Yeah, should have been a model, not an actor. Model.
Yeah.
He's a strong model vibes.
Then we flick back to Red. Josh is feeling obviously very grateful, but still super paranoid. This kid is just paranoid. I mean, with reasoning, he kind of seems to be at the bottom of that, but he is feeling that for sure.
I think Josh is next out if they go again.
Yes, well, that's what he thinks. He's so worried about the next tribal council if they do go. He's like, I'm on the outs here. And then again, we get back into that.
Well, I guess unless Michael's prepared to try and force a 2-2 rock thing for him.
No, Michael's not doing that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, we get a confessional from Rachel who kind of wants to blindside Michael because of his other tribe connection. She doesn't necessarily trust him.
What's his other tribe connection?
I haven't written the name down.
He hasn't told everyone about the David thing. That comes later.
But I think she was bonding with a few people at the breakfast.
Yeah, she just she has a confessional about it that she was like, he's made friends on the other tribes. I'm just I
think she also sees him as being tight with Josh, and she is feeling. I think she mentioned something about she hasn't really connected with Michael that well, and she would rather actually have Josh around than Michael.
Yeah.
The plan is to say there's debate to this day about who gets voted. Of course there is.
Yeah, look, I want to know when we get to it. I want to know what happens if you guys win that rock draw, because I feel like you guys do not go to Final Four together. You turn on each other before.
No, I think they go to Final Four. I reckon they do.
Nah,
it's all in all of their interest to go to Final Four.
No, it's not. Not for Josh. Josh knows that Matt C and Michael beat him. So I think he makes a move.
I don't think Matt C beats him. Oh, actually, with that jury, he probably does.
Yeah. There's a confessional that he says later that, when they're even and he's like, oh my God, we actually have a chance. He's like, but I can't beat Michael or Matt C.
Or Rachel, probably.
He doesn't say he can't beat Rachel, but yes,
I don't know if he can beat Rachel either. Maybe he is making a move. Maybe he is making a flip. That'd be pretty amazing, actually. Okay, continue.
And then we go to immunity, which is like the lock troughs. They've got to get over and under and unlock the keys, and then the landing sandbags. I just want to shout out Matty C's performance in this. The way that he moves that pole around to capture the sandbags, I thought was super impressive. I mean, we know he's a challenge beast, but I was thoroughly impressed with him here. Yellow wins first. Guys, the gasp that I gasped when Red knocked two of their things off halfway through this challenge. Like, they were like in such a great lead, and I was like, ooh! Like, no. Like,
I'm sorry. Josh says he would have gone to final 3. I call bullshit. You would not have done that.
You say. Sorry, Dani, it's your job. You like your first things. He says this now because there's no incentive to say anything.
How long ago was this?
You're besties after the game, right? What's he gonna say? Yeah, I was gonna vote. Like, there is no point telling people that you would fuck them over if you could have when after the game you're friends. Like, there is no value in that, right? People that you're not friends with, sure, whatever. But when they're your friends, you tend not to be like, yeah, I would have fucked you over. I think you have said that to people that haven't.
Jules is looking at me like down the barrel.
Didn't you like tell Michelle that you would have voted her out as soon as you could have, like, basically?
No, I told Sam I would have thrown him under the bus at Final Tribal Council.
Yeah. I don't know how it worked. He had to go before then.
Well, in my plan, it was the 3 of us at Final Tribal. That was in my head.
Well, I don't know if you're winning that, but we have to see the game that you played hypothetically from Merge Boot at that point. So it's hard to
I'm like 50 steps ahead of myself. That was my final 3. That's where I was.
There you go. Michael says, I go after Matt C at 7 or 6, I reckon. I don't think you would have done it at 7 because that would just put you back to a 3-3. But I think, final 6, I think a move is made.
The problem is, I think the move, that'd be fascinating. Fucking rock draw. All right, it's draw. Well, they're probably making moves with Salvador because he was setting them all up. Like, he was setting them all up for moves that he never made.
Yeah, if they win the rock draw, I think they take Sal out next. And
I think they make moves with Sal.
No, I think they take him out. They're too burned out. They take him out and then they turn.
No, I think they push for Kiara because they all think they can work with Sal. And Kiara's going to win the game if she gets to the end. And
Can we do this when we get there?
Anyway, we'll just let it.
So my heart was in my throat for Red here because, like, the way. Anyway. Go on.
Thank you, Kyle.
If Barack won the rock draw, they target Salvador next, but he has an idol, so they go back 3-3 at the 6 and probably will get voted out then. So it blows up in their face, basically.
Would have been much more interesting. Anyway, we're still on episode 3.
Lost my notes. Blue lose. First time to Tribal Council. The first confession we get is Dan being very annoyed that he was the most physical person in that challenge. He was very annoyed that he did the workload of everybody else.
I was watching it going, is Jake throwing this? Because Jake sucked. There was a part of me that was like, did he throw? And I think it's a valid strategy to throw this challenge because it's the whole Matsing scenario of, like, if in a 3-tribe format, you don't want to go into the swap with the most numbers. So I would not have, like, and Jake is not the strategical person to be able to do that, but that would be what I would be thinking.
John talks about this from Melbourne Survivor. He was absolutely right when, he was like, those 4 people, Brady, Chloe, CK Max, they're not going to stick together because they've never voted together. They've been to tribal together. They have not proven their trust. You want to have proven trust with a vote before you swap. That helps you stick together in the swap. Is Jake thinking this plan? I don't think so. But
I thought he was throwing it.
Another play, maybe. Not so much Jake.
Yeah.
And then obviously he said he wants to target Julie. Fiona doesn't trust Fu, talks about targeting Dan, kind of gets his Fee versus Fu situation, which I have a lot of fun saying in my mouth. Fee versus Fu, Fu versus Fee. And then obviously, like, Fee's being targeted for being a lawyer. We get all this talk again about she's a lawyer. We can't trust her. She can talk so well, And I was like, and this is why people lie about their occupation when they're lawyers, because, like, it doesn't even seem to have done anything that's, like, sneaky or anything, like, but they're like, she's a lawyer. She got to go. That's, like, their main reasoning for Fee being a target here. there's a hilarious thing where there's a bunch of them around the water cooler and they asked Jake what his thoughts were, and he was like, I'm not going to share that. And I was like, that's a huge, if I was in that and that person says that, I'm like, that's a huge red flag. Like, straight off the bat, if someone's like, I'm not going to share my thoughts.
Yeah, it's about, like, I like it's Jake's straight up play, right? Because it's the same thing as when someone goes, well, who do you think we should vote out? And you're like, I don't know. I've got to talk to some other people, and maybe I'm not really sure because they're standing right there. The two options are right fucking there, and you don't know what to say because you don't want to throw out a third person's name into the mix. You've got two names that you're circulating, and they're the decoy and the real one. You throw a third name, and it's like Jake's saying like Dan's name, like you know what I mean? Like it's.
When you go, I think those three are tight, and I think they're going to be voting out one of us, and we need to do something else.
That like it, Jules. Very good.
I'm on the bottom with you guys.
Yeah, like I have no idea what's happening. I really like
no
this
one's
group of
talking to
people
me.
here. What do we think about those people over there? Something like you're not giving a name, you're just saying like, I like this. What's happening over there? Like just start, rather than being like, I'm not sharing my thoughts with you, because that tells me that, well, it's one of us and you don't trust us.
Yeah.
Even though they don't, obviously, but it's just like, it's just a huge red flag in that moment to be like, okay, all right. Then we go to tribal council. David said he's sitting in his bad luck seat, which was pretty funny as well as the seat he was sitting in when he went out at the first boot. But then he calls himself a threat, which I also thought was a really interesting strategy for a tribal council.
I like how David left the first. We're talking about David a bit because it's the first boot. I like how he left first backyard with his ego high. He went out, shocked he went out, almost got back in the Wheat Bix, couldn't get the Wheat Bix done. But that ego has not come down. It is still way up there since he's rolling back into the season. And maybe David's had a good life. David's a very good-looking guy. I'm sure everything works out for David, except that random time he got booted first. And it's just, it's inconceivable that would happen again. But equally, he is such a player. He's basically the Boston Rob of this thing. And everyone is looking at him as a threat. I think you see him wearing a Boston Red Sox cap in one of these. Yes. It takes a special sort of person to wear a Boston Red Sox cap on Survivor because it says something about you.
100%. 100%. If anybody was ever wearing I wouldn't call it a Boston Rob hat. I wouldn't even call it the bat. That's a Boston Rob hat. Why are you wearing a Boston Rob hat?
In David's head, he is not a target because he's the first boot. He is a threat. And that is how
he calls himself a threat. Absolutely, yeah.
In every moment he's played Survivor and the time in between.
Yeah.
So could he be saying that? Probably not, but that's just what's in his head.
Never call yourself a threat outside of your own confessional.
Unless
you're like trying to put together a threats alliance that you're like, hey, you and me, we're the biggest threats here. We need to stick together. But at tribal council, definitely not.
But is he a threat or is he a bit delulu? Like if you're not actually a threat, then so if you're not actually a threat, if I was sitting there with someone who's like, I'm a threat, like you're fucking not. I wouldn't vote you out.
I'd be like, all right, cool. This guy thinks he's a threat. I'll take him with me. And then I'll beat him at the end.
Sounds great.
He thinks he's the biggest threat. He ain't voting me out.
That's not the game he's playing. So this is who he is. I love it. I love David in this. I love David in this season so much. Because he really gives a lot in the pre-merge.
It's a lot of fun. Is he up there as an ORCA for you guys?
I was just thinking that. Is he going to get some votes in the ORCA?
I don't know. I could get my vote, but I do love it. Maybe. I don't know.
I'll give it another mention.
And then look, Fiona gets voted out. Bless. Sad to see her go. And then she forgets her bag. That's cute. She comes running back. Oh, my bag. Comes running back in. And that's episode 3.
So first non-unanimous vote?
Yes.
Julie votes with her?
Yeah, keep Julie out of the loop just so she goes next. We get to redemption. Everyone is sad. They're also sad they've gotten voted out. And then Ken's like, who gave me the idol? And Fee's like, it was a group decision. I don't think it was a group decision. I think, as far as I know, Fu just made that decision. At the Blue Tribe, David is bitter that he got votes. and thus begins the David's descent into insanity. He cannot handle that he got some dinky vote from Julie and the person who got booted out. Like, dude.
Well, the poor guy, he goes to 3 tribal councils this game, and his name is written down at every single one of them.
Well, if you're not voted out, don't worry about it. Who cares if Julie voted for you? She's gonna go
I know,
next.
but some people care about that.
I like how Julie's answer was like, well, I voted for you, David, because I think you'd be strong enough to come back. And he may think he's a threat, and the ego may be there, but he's like, no, I'm not fucking going.
I ain't Aussie.
He's like, I'm not getting voted out again of this fucking game. It's hilarious. Julie was surprised that the vote was what it was, that it was Fee. She's been blindsided. Now, over at Red at Birak, Birak's going to be like the one tribe name that I remember. I'm so bad at tribe names. But
I never remember tribe names. I just remember these because of the Birak.
It's because of the Birak 4. That's why I remember it.
Josh, I don't remember tribe names ever. Except for Lalo, I remember that one.
Loves everyone and is loyal to them. Which is a bit of a step up from where he was about 2 minutes ago, but he loves them all now. He adores them. And they're all going to go looking for an idol together, and they suck. But frankly, everyone other than Salvador sucks at finding idols, particularly this well idol. Like, oh my God. Like, it's... Now,
because the Plunker wood with this tiny little legs on it.
Now, this is where Michael gets a bee sting, and we see a medical situation with the... medical professional comes in, the doctor, who, sadly passed away soon after this season. If you watch at the end of the episode, there's like a memorial for him. And I actually believe from when we were covering the season that, so I think I did this episode too, that Kyle and the doctor were actually dating. So it was a very, sad moment for Kyle in his life after this season. And it's so nice to do this memorial, and that's why I think why they particularly included the scene with the bee sting and the doctor providing the medical advice. Someone in the comments help me out with the doctor's name, please, if they have it. I'm sure Kyle's here. Someone would have it. I think Dr.
I like having that scene in there anyway, just because I think people are always a little bit nervous with this stuff that like, oh, are they really in any danger? So to see someone, no, we're fine. There's no real danger here. It's all fake. Like, not fake, but it's like,
it's all professional.
We're all safe.
I like this as your response to this. But when I talked about it was Dr. Tim. There we go. I remembered. Yes. Oh, sorry, Danny. Heart for Dr. Tim, rest in peace. Great to see you here. And he took very good care of Michael. It was a nice moment. When I talked about Angela helping with my splinter, you're like, oh, cool ambulance.
That's a splinter, not a bee sting. No one's ever died of a splinter.
You only die of a bee sting if you're allergic.
Yeah, they still need to check that.
I got bit by an ant in Melbourne. Will that make the edit?
No.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What happened?
I got bit by an ant.
An ant?
I have no memory of that.
Like a bull ant. Like it was a big bull ant. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's painful. On yellow...
Spoilers to Melbourne.
Ooh, big spoilers. You get medevac from your ant.
Yeah, medevac out from a bull ant.
Melbourne didn't have doctors on staff.
Melbourne 4, once again, Dani gets no votes the entire game because she's a medevac. And I have no memory of it.
Casper tells Sal about the clue to the idol because basically Casper can't find it. And then
Casper's not keep a secret.
Well, look, when I think Casper's a savvy player. Casper knows a swap is coming. If you have the clue to the idol and you're potentially going to leave your camp, it is time to find it. If you have tried and failed, bring someone in. You don't bring them in right away, but bring him in because, if you can find it with them, then you've got something together. This is the right thing to be doing when you're running out of time, which he knows. I like the moment where Sal basically just empties his entire water bottle, so he can go back to the well.
I need water.
Yeah, I need water. And that's when he's running, and then Kate from season 5 is filming this, and she's running after him. She's like, "Stop running! I'm not fit. I'm not fit." That was shown in the Backyard 5.
It was, yeah.
Can we have a side note for a sec about tipping the water out? Matt C has the tiniest little water bottle. Is that strategy to like,
No,
I'm going to need to fill my water up a
found out he was
lot because I've
playing
only got
like-
a tiny bottle.
You found out he was playing like 2 minutes before the
I
fucking
know, but
game.
that's a good strategy for future players. Take your smaller, oh, sorry, I got to go for water again. Oh, I got to go for water again. If you've got a big, like, 2-liter bottle, you don't have to fill up as much.
Yeah, look, you don't want the 2-liter bottle. You want about 600, 700 mils, right? Because you need to hydrate yourself, and Matt needs to hydrate himself. Like, I think he's a physical specimen. He needs
Especially
to
because it's like 37 degrees or something.
Yeah. So you want bigger than that, but yeah, you don't want a 2-liter bottle that never empties and you can never go to the well. They can't find the idol. They think Joe or Matt definitely has. Of course, Matt's got it. Well,
Matt has it.
Of course, he has. At Blue, Julie remains confused, and she may have an alliance with Fu. Maybe.
Probably not.
And then, did Fu vote for David? I'm very confused. And at Red, Rachel and Matt are at the top, and they see Josh as a number, so they're thinking about Michael. And then they're picking their tribes. We're at the swap.
So basically chose their own swap.
Weird. Don't like it. What's going on here?
It's a great way to make sure that everyone's split and that it's not all of one tribe sticking together. But that's about the only part of it I like. They tried something different, and that's something Backyard does well. I don't love this.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Particularly with swap. It's a long swap as well. We're not one tribal away from merge or whatever.
But I think it also, for me, that's really going to keep people sticking to tribal lines because you're pretty much guaranteed to be with someone that you were aligned with.
Yeah.
So if we're picking, I'm like, whatever tribe my number one ally is going to, I'm going to go to that tribe too. So I think this is a very tribal lines season. We see that a lot. And that's another reason it's shocking it's such a good season because normally Pagonging's boring. But I think that's one of the reasons they stick so tight together is because they all go into swap with people they want to go with.
Is it a worse swap? Is it a worse swap than playing with fire?
No, nothing is worse swap than playing with fire. That is the worst swap.
That's the worst swap of all time.
That's up there with Melbourne with Australian Survivor 1.
What happened in Australian Survivor 1? I don't recall.
There was 3 tribes and they had a challenge and the blue tribe won. And they got to basically decide who's going to join you on your tribe, and then everyone else.
They just grabbed the challenge beast and put them on their tribe. Kyle says, in theory, people would do that, but so many do the opposite. Yeah, but they didn't really hear. Blue tribe gets decimated. Salvador's plan gets enacted. They get split in a way which is really bad for them all, and that sets up their eventual downfall, as you said. Abby is with Matt and unhappy because Matt, of course, has the idol. So you can't be with Matt. He's got the idol. He's lying about it. Rachel and Matt don't really see as a duo.
If he is with you, then you want to be with the person with the idol.
She doesn't trust Matt. She never has. He's shifty. He's not. He's like he's just a nice old guy. But she's really he's just he's just giving her dad vibes.
He's not
pure dad vibes.
No.
Pure dad vibes.
I'm not interested at all.
We get to the challenge, and I've described this as, lol, they're stealing Canberra 1's horrible challenge idea where they do charades. Yet
this is Australian Survivor 2017.
I think Canberra, was it? Well, Canberra saw it with them, and then they saw it from Canberra. They did this way better. This is good.
It's funny to watch.
The echidna looks nothing like an echidna in the picture. Anyway, and then, I like how obvious. I love how they keep making the advantage more and more obvious.
By the last round, it was so fucking obvious.
And so they get to the koala at round 7. It's obvious. No one gets it. I've got yellow smashes red, 6-1, production 0 on advantages for this season.
Yeah. See, I'm always right.
You missed one little bit because you're looking at Carl's thing. Yellow 6. Red 1, production 0.
Yeah, I know I heard it, but I see Jules is right, and that's all I care about.
What do you think this advantage was? Does this get
I think it was the thing that Michael got.
What was that?
Michael got the thing. He didn't use it, the give up your vote to get an extra vote.
The banker vote.
Yeah.
A banker vote is not a great advantage in a swap situation. Banker
It's
votes
not
are
a
more
great
interesting.
advantage in general. Like an extra vote is not that great. To have to give up your vote to be able to get it in the first place.
Carl's Team Jules tonight.
Carl, are you campaigning for the ORCA award? You're not eligible.
Kyle would never win an ORCA. He's too nice.
Too sweet.
I don't know. Look at him in the comments. He's campaigning.
Banker vote in a swap is like the one time you're unlikely to be able to use it. I assume it expired before merge because he might have been able to use it at merge, but the numbers are always a bit prickly. If you want people to play banker votes, you need to give them at the start of the game when there might be like a solid number.
When
position.
there's like a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
Just give him an extra vote straight up.
Yeah, I wondered if they felt that would impact the swap too much. How did Michael get it in the end?
He found it at Tribal, didn't he? Wasn't it like...
Oh, yes, it was under the voting parchment.
Yeah.
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 And then he didn't use it.
But like I think he was nervous that he knew that, because I think he didn't get it until the next episode, and David was throwing out his name. So it's like...
What does Josh mean we could have had the numbers? No one from Red.
The merge vote, it was 6-6, and then they flipped. So if he'd had it at the merge vote, it would have...
Oh, so if he'd banked it, he would have had it?
Yeah, if he'd had the extra vote at merge.
The banking, though, when he had the chance to do it, we'll get to this episode, it was very dicey for him to be banking.
Yeah, I agree. It should have just been...
On the red, we'll just clarify, the new red tribe is David, Joe, Michael, Julie, Marty, as he's, of course, known, Kiara, and Sal. And on yellow, we have Jake, Matt, Dan, Boo, Rachel, Josh, and Casper. And we, of course, get to see the burgeoning one-sided romance of Jake and Casper begin. Finally, for real, as they're now in the same tribe. I like how David's got a confessional where he's like, he was the leader of the blue team. He's like, I was the leader.
You picked the tribe. That's about it.
Yeah, he was the team leader. He picked him. So.
And then I've got
Paulie was the leader of the red tribe.
But David has realized that this swap is not great for him, and he starts to freak out and spiral.
I love a spiral. I fucking love a spiral.
It's so obvious when they get back and they all pair off in their original tribes, and then red and yellow just like, oh shit. Like, it could not have been any more obvious that one of the blues is going.
And his first thing is like, okay, I'm gonna look in with Julie. I know Julie voted for me in the last vote, and she told me. But first thing I'm gonna try to loop in with Julie, and Julie's like, no, I don't know if I'm gonna work with you. Yeah. Julie was so excited.
I love it.
And again, David, just like he knew with Michael, he's like, you know what? Julie's not with me here. I need to go to those other plans. Julie's talking about doing Sal with a 3-2-2. I'm like, that's not happening. And then
Julie's like smarty. She can obviously see the spiral. She's like obviously like an older woman, has a good relative read of like young men. And she's like, if I put my cards in with him, I'm already in a really precarious position here. I don't need to be like, I need to go over there and be like, whatever you want, I'm yours. Pull me in as a number.
Yeah.
Michael very smartly, I've got here, is trying to run either a 2-2 versus the 3. Or a 3-2 against the 2. And he's got both options sort of happening where he and who is he with? Josh? No, he's with Marty.
He's with
Marty. He and Marty are in the middle of this. And Michael
my face every time you say it, I'm like,
this is one of Michael's best episodes, I'd say. He really manages this situation really well, where it's really not going to be him or Massey.
I think he's in a really tough spot because from a numbers perspective, you are better to go with the 2 and target the 3. But when you look at who's on what side, do you really want to go with David, who is spiraling, who I think he's correct in not wanting to work with the person that he knows outside the game. I think it's a really good read because that'll just get people really up in arms and they find out about it. So better to cut that tie. So yeah, I think I don't know which was the better option for him. I mean, in hindsight, we'd probably say that he should have gone with the Blues. But again, these are the people I want to hitch my wagon to. Probably not.
And you got the fact that he's just said Julie is throwing out David's name. David's probably throwing out Julie's name.
They're not.
You can't work with these people. They're not even working with each other.
No.
Just you got a great one with Sal wants Julie, but he can't remember Kiara's name at this point. He's only been with her for 5 hours, 6 hours. And David's feeling out of it. And then I'm like, why is David wearing a Boston Red Sox cap? Dumb. Never. The only person who ever got away with it was Elaine, and that's because she was the most opposite person from Boston Rob, like in the history of the world. David goes idol hunting. He's desperate, and the group of the yellows and the red make a very smart decision and vote out Julie because I think she thinks it's David. They do.
They vote for each other.
They split, and they split as they should because someone could have an idol. David's certainly looking. And they put the votes. The plurality should have been on David because he's probably more likely to have an idol. But I wonder if Michael was thinking about maybe he could work with him on the next one.
No, Michael was pushing for David to go.
Okay, so maybe Julie's not going to be great for the challenges. David was definitely sparring and scared us, so I didn't want to go with both blues. This is from Michael. I did try and flip the vote to David to try because I wanted Julie to stay. I think she would have been loyal to him and Matt. C. Is she going to rocks? No, David's not going to rocks. So David is trying to make merge by any means possible. So I think it would have been better for Michael to keep Julie, but I think the yellows made the right call here, and ultimately they had the power.
Yeah.
We're going to Redemption, and it's a 4-person challenge. This is episode 5, where 2 people are getting booted, which is pretty savage, but I guess we've got to power through this. Julie struggles on the water. Everyone's running out of the water. And then they, have to work out. The water doesn't work. They run out of water, and then they got to, change how the challenge works. And they're like, okay, we're all going to give you a bit of extra time, different times for the puzzle, but based on, how much water you had. And they're like, Fiona, are you okay with 1 minute? And I'm like, Ken has a lot, so more. And then Julie's like, no, I want it measured. I'd be like that too. Fuck this, minute for you, 2 minutes for you. Measure this shit. Anyway. So time is Ken, then Fee is plus 1 minute, Val plus 2, Julie plus 5. I guess maybe it did go to a measurement and it didn't work out. And Julie, that puts Julie way out of it. But Valentina continues her strong success, wins the puzzle, and Ken comes second. Valentina's journey through these challenges is really, really fun to watch. I think she underestimated herself in terms of how good she would be at them. I wish she'd been perhaps a bit more dynamic when she got back in the game. But her run through the Redemption is quite a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Michael's found a bank vote advantage somewhere. And he's using his cricket undies. I like this from Michael. You're here too. I like this one. This is actually the best. This is better than Pauline's skirt with secret pockets, which was pretty great. Using his cricket undies, which obviously have an extra space in the front for the box to store idols or advantages. Well, also.
I think I've said this many times before. I chose my clothes based on what could best conceal an idol.
Yeah, because
I was testing it with putting a roll. I had a roll of socks, and I would put it in my jacket and in my pants to be like, okay, can you see that? Okay, you can't see that. Oh, you can see that. Don't put it in there. I thought about this shit.
The jocks is a great spot, but these special jocks. Worst case scenario is someone sees you in the jocks and you just look incredibly well endowed. Because the undies are
girls can't do that.
What?
Girls can't do that. You put it in the bra. I
can't. No, I can. Things can hide my bra. That's always been my go-to spot.
Anyway, it's a smart thinking, Michael.
I'm not as well endowed as you, I guess.
Sorry.
It's smart post strategy. Kiara likes her OG tribe. Plus, she kind of likes Matt. Obviously, she feels something for the first game boots, but also David is shifty.
Michael, they would not have been well suited to the well idol.
No,
that is really well hung.
Did we ever see the well idol?
Yeah, it's a giant piece of wood. It's this big.
Oh, I didn't understand this. The piece of wood is the idol?
Yeah. It's got paint on it in the middle.
Oh, that's confusing. Wow.
That's what Sal played.
He eventually figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's episode 1.
That's I I'd forgotten that.
No, because we see Casper pull it off and throw it aside.
Yeah, because it's a piece of wood.
And assume that the idol is gone.
It's a fucking piece of wood.
It's a fucking stick.
It's a fucking plank.
It's not an idol, it's a stick.
It's a fucking plank. Yeah, okay, that's... I must say, I didn't remember that, and I haven't rewatched that episode because we split the episodes up a bit to keep it fresh. And I fully understand why no one worked that out. Yes, Nat would not have been able to store that in his undies. That's kind of funny. Matt was surprised by the vote. Sal feels bad that he voted Julie, but not really. David is stressed because he got 3 votes. He doesn't have the numbers. The spiraling continues. David needs to win some challenges. At Yellow, Foo's feeling good, really good with Dan and Jake. Dan sneakily could see what color he was picking from the bag. Was this in the swap?
What?
Picking yellow from the bag.
Yeah, that group did a bit of a lucky draw.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They all did it differently. That's right. Oh, okay. Yes, I remember now. On the swap, they all got to pick how they were going to do it. Yeah. And he knew he said he could see the yellow, and he wanted to obviously be with his bestie Jake. Jake doesn't like the way Rachel's questioning people. Rachel's come in. Rachel, not the lawyer, the journalist, is coming with a line of inquiry.
Journalists ask a lot of questions. They want to get the truth.
And Jake does not like it. He doesn't like being confronted by this strong woman with her strong questions. Get out of here.
How dare she?
How dare she? There's a challenge. It's got like a fish thing. My notes are not great.
The part about throwing the water on the other line, I didn't like that.
I'm like, why are they dumping water on people?
This challenge is
a hot
the
day.
challenge.
It's a hot day.
Fu and Rachel are taking forever on this puzzle. I would have thought they'd be good at puzzles, and then that gives a chance for.
Why would they be good at puzzles?
Why?
Yeah,
because they're super smart women.
Okay.
I'm terrible at puzzles.
Yeah, that's how. Now what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you make. I think you made a racial assumption there, and that is.
Well,
not
that's going to go into something I'm going to talk about a bit later. But anyway, continue.
Jake and Dan didn't want to bar Rachel or I from the get-go. Terrible vibes. These are not their peeps. And Matt C kills at the running. Like, he's such a beast. If you enjoy watching Matt C be good at challenges, he played some American season where for some reason they play an entire day without a vote out, and it's like a whole day of challenges, and that's like the first 7 episodes. So you want to go watch Matt C dominate challenges? There you go. I couldn't get through it. I'm like, why is there no vote outs? I thought like 4 episodes of this. But anyway, it suits his game style. I like how, okay, so then David and Kiara on the puzzle is good. But they didn't like even have the system right. Like, it wasn't head to tail. And then they go get it. I like how they get fish and chips. That's fun. Yeah. Because like
fish puzzle, they're fishing for the pieces.
Mm-hmm. And then there's an added penalty. And fish and chips is going to be good even if it's a bit cold. Like, it's still going to be good. You're hungry, it's good. And then, you know, as an extra punishment and nothing to do with the scheduling of the show and that they're probably behind time, you're going straight to tribal with no strong chat. Nothing to do with that. Dave admits they were nowhere near it in the confessional. Yeah, because do they edit it like they are near the thing? Is that how it's edited?
No, I think where we see it's really like there's catch up on the puzzle because of how far behind they are, but it's like the girls are on the puzzle when the guys are still trying to fish.
Yeah. They do make a massive comeback, but it's not that hard in the puzzle. What did you want to say about Rachel? Your Rachel assumption?
No, it's next episode.
Okay. Now David is selling Michael to Matt. What are you doing, David? That's never happening. You should be trying to get like a 3-3 here, but they're not going to do that. Like, I think he's just stuffed. Like, I guess he should be trying to go with the yellows.
You should be going to the yellows and saying, like, guys, I am by myself. I've got no loyalty to anyone. Use me to take out one of these 2 reds.
And then he's blaming Michael for stuffing up the challenge. It's like, no one cares, mate. No one cares about the challenge. No one cares. You're on the bottom.
No, at this point, challenges are done. Like the first few boots can be about that, but at this point in the game, no one's looking at that.
Merge is coming.
Exactly. We're right at
If
merge.
anything, we want to take out the people who are good at challenges.
Yeah, not the ones who are bad. Yeah.
Joe is just giving David nothing, like just blanking him.
Joe is like so entertaining in a lot of these confessionals. She is someone that just, like, once again, we talk about Backyard is quite funny. Joe is that character for me this season. Like, she's just strategically not given a whole lot, but she gives me some content, and I'm enjoying it.
The strat chat goes for a long time, and we get the probably one interesting point on this vote, in that Michael's considering whether he should use the advantage. Now, Matt says extra votes don't often do much, and they're worried about an idol. But I'm like, what does it matter if he has an idol? Number one, he probably won't vote a red because it's not strategic. But even if he does, it's still going to be one vote. As long as Matt votes for someone else, then they can manage the revote. Then they should be banking the vote here because they're fucked if they go to another tribal council. At least they can create a 3-3 as long as they get the person who doesn't get the votes to play the extra vote. Like, they've got a 50-50 on getting that right, but they have a chance of staying. And maybe that chance alone would be enough to convince maybe Salvador to do something, like, as opposed to the risk, the 3-3, and then, a revote, and then, a rocks, situation where, it's a 2-1 situation. I actually think now, and obviously Josh in the comments said they needed it for the later vote in the merge. He really should have banked it. 'Cause, I think just in the right now, without it, they're in a lot of trouble if they lose the next challenge, which they don't. But Michael was in his defense, says, my rib was yellow, was on my side. I knew I was getting a vote for David, and I was concerned that it put one extra vote on me in case of an idol.
Yeah.
So why don't you just give the extra vote thing for Matt to play then? Like, Matt could have banked the vote.
Look, when you've got about 5 minutes to decide what you're doing, you're not thinking of that. You're like,
do I play it? Am I not play it? This is how many years later strategy we're giving to them to do when you have 2 minutes to think of it.
I do have here, Michael is worried about a split, but I don't quite get it. 2-1-1 with Matt on David. Oh, yeah, I sort of see it. Oh, yeah, I get it. And then they get to try. Oh, I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, yeah. But you should have got the vote. I imagine it's Michael's like one regret from the game. And I'm sure he's tossed and turned about it at every moment. We all have those. If you didn't win the game, you've got those moments. I don't like how they've got chairs. This is my first realizing they're sitting on chairs at Tribal Council. Did they always have chairs?
I love it.
Is the chairs new here?
No, they've always been on chairs.
I don't like it. Get some logs and shit for them to sit on. I have to say that, Backyard have done a fantastic job with a lot of their production, and often their tribal councils are never like spectacular because they're in a backyard. That's like the fun of it, right? And this season they're no longer in a backyard, but I don't like how the tribal council's in a fucking shed. Like, you've got this amazing location. Yeah, Josh says there are milk crates and stuff. They've got this amazing location. There's surely some way you could have had tribal council. There you go. It's not just me. Like, the chairs have appeared. They could have.
I'm misremembering. Apologies.
And I know they fixed this in One World. One World had this amazing tribal council.
One World tribal is fantastic.
But I just don't love these spaces for tribal council. It just loses for me the authenticity, which is otherwise there in this game, particularly this season, especially this season. The milk crates disappeared. Someone swiped them.
I think the jury ends up sitting on milk crates.
Make him sit on the floor, Kyle. Michael doesn't take the punt, and David goes 5-1 over Michael. We cut to another redemption challenge. David arrives and meets Ken and Val. Why do I like how David has a grey jumper? What do I like about that? I have no idea what I liked about that, but I liked it. So
I think it's just your notes from when you podcasted last time. Is that why
No,
you remember
these are
what
I
you
did
got
new
written
notes.
down?
I did new notes while I was sort of. Maybe it's because I was like studying at the same time for 12.
Oh.
These notes, so like,
So you notice, like what color jumper was David wearing when he went to?
Yeah, look, I was asking some ridiculous questions, so that's
you were.
fair.
And then we replace the contestant shares back to
I'm happy for the host to be sitting in chairs. That's fine.
Yeah. And then there's a black buff that gives you a pass. And
I love this.
Well, I feel like this is a production decision because they didn't have.
Handed it to David. I feel like Brian's like, which one you want? Oh, you want this one? Okay, here you go.
I feel it was because there were three. Like, I think the reason they did this is that the stations, from memory, were reasonably elaborate, and they just didn't have three of them, right? So we're going to give someone a pass, and you're suggesting that production interference went David's way.
I don't know. Just put it out there.
Okay.
If they're going to interfere for anyone, they already lost the first boot. Do they really want the second first boot to be lost here?
Well, Brian doesn't want to cry again. Brian's had enough crying.
And then the advantages are hidden, just like they were in Backyard 3.
What was there? Was it going to be an advantage in the final challenge, do you reckon?
So many advantages got missed in this game. Like, every single fucking advantage.
And I think the idea is that if you've watched that season, you would know that's where they were hidden. So you would look there. But these two, they have not seen that season.
They have not.
They have not. If Kiara was there, she would have looked there.
David might have known. Maybe David.
Maybe.
It would have been good if Kiara. And no one finds them. And Valentina wins over Ken by one solitary piece.
Well,
so close. But they're really enjoying their dynamic together. Like they started the first challenge and they were winning all these challenges together, and then
I think they're still besties now. They're an unlikely duo, but man, they connected well. Dani doesn't think they're besties.
No.
I think they're friendly. I don't think they have any recognition in the outside world.
Yeah. Just a survivor friend, not a bestie.
Yeah. Just like a work friend. But anyway, we move on to episode 6. We go straight to Red Tribe, and there's no blues left. So they're all very, very aware of the fact that it's this 3-2 dynamic. Sal's sort of in the middle, you know. Do I flip Valentina? Valkentina.
Valkentina. Love it.
All right. Yeah, Sal's playing the middle. He's considering making a flip. He's excited because he finds the idol clue, but it's the same one that Casper's already shown him. So he's like, I've already seen this one.
Is this the one they describe as a map to the idol? But it's just like
straight up says if you'd like, if you want to come first, quench your thirst or something. Like it's very much like go to the well. Yeah. But we go to the Yellow Tribe, and it's the opposite thing. We're not seeing the OG tribal lines. We're seeing a lot of cross-tribal connections forming. You've got Casper and Josh. You've got Rachel and Matt B, Rachel and Fu, Casper and Jake. So a lot of pairs from opposite tribes, which is nice to see. And there's a really nice confessional from Fu talking about feeling a connection with Rachel. And she makes a joke of, haha, we're both called Rachel. But she talks about them both being Asian Australians. They've got that same sort of cultural identity. And this is a really good explanation of why representation matters. And I would love for AU Survivor. I know someone from AU Survivor is probably watching us right now. But if you are, take notes.
Watching us.
Increase your racial diversity, please. Like, we're begging you for it. And this is a perfect example of why. So I just
the other
had
perfect
to
example. The other perfect example is when you have that much diversity on the cast, you don't feel obliged to be aligned with them. Rachel and Matt didn't have any honor to, we've got to save Ken because he's another Asian guy. Like, when you have that many people of that culture, it's just you're only looking at people as players, not as your cultural connection. But you do sometimes connect over the cultural connection like they do here.
Yeah, these two did. And I really liked seeing that. But anyway, we go to the challenge. It's a gross pizza challenge.
Pizzas weren't that gross.
They weren't that. Some of them were grosser than others. The Aussie one with Vegemite, beetroot, tomato, and hundreds and thousands of Weet-Bix. I'm not eating that one. And the one that was covered in water.
What do you mean not eating it? Like, what can't you eat on that pizza?
It's more just like the Aussie or the water one?
The Aussie one.
Well, for starters, beetroot I'm not a fan of, but Vegemite with hundreds and thousands, like, Oh, it's the combination.
This is not a Centurion egg. Just eat the fucking pizza.
I mean, I would have eaten it, but I'm just saying it's gross.
Brisbane made them eat ants.
All right, I'm just look. I'm just. This is what they'll go. It was a gross eating challenge. That was the point of it. But anyway, I've got all the matchups and what they ate, but it's an absolute blowout. And we get a confessional from Dan basically saying we've just been eating heaps. Like we weren't that hungry. That's why we didn't win. And he's got a very good point. That's probably exactly why they didn't win.
Dan should have been hungry for success. Dan is too confident.
Well, no, Dan did well. Dan went the second time, won, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'll go a third time." They're like, "You've already had two. Then someone else needs to go."
I'm saying he's maybe some other people were not doing as well on purpose. Maybe it had nothing to do with how much they had to eat.
Maybe.
Considering what happens.
Yeah. This vote coming up. I was blindsided watching this the first time. I'd say this is the biggest blindside of the game because they did this really well. They did a few episodes, but this is the first time we get that sort of we're at tribal and then we're getting a flashback of the strategy, which I love.
I love that. I have so much.
Yeah.
I think I remember the first time I watched, I'm like, where's the strat chat? What's going on?
There's a bit of strat chat. We sort of see that on this tribe as well, the reds and the yellows are coming together and they want to work with Fu. Like Rachel and Josh in particular are wanting to pull in Fu and let's vote Jake. And it's red and yellow and Fu's like, I don't trust Casper at all, but she really likes Josh and Rachel. So she does want to work with them. And she's like, well, okay, the majority is going to go to Jake. So maybe I do need to jump off this sinking ship and throw my vote for Jake as well, align myself with them. I think it's a really solid idea from her to go with that group since that is the majority. The OG Blues are pitching Josh because they don't really like him for whatever reason. And I think the feeling is mutual. Josh is not a fan of any of them. It's the first time we see Jake really trying to flirt with Casper, and Casper's not into it, but is just going with it, like whatever. And I love
Casper's pretending to be into it. Casper is not. She's
doing the right thing. Like. Yeah. But I love that Josh is like, is he flirting with you? Yeah. Oh, we lost Dani.
That's right. I should go and do something.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, yeah. So then we get to tribal. I'm thinking it's going to be a 5-2 against Jake. But then as the votes are being pulled out, we get one Dan vote, and that's where we get the flashback of that 4 coming together. What if there's an idol? All right, let's switch our votes to Dan, but we're not going to tell Fu. And I think this is also quite smart because it's testing Fu's loyalty to say, hey, if there's one Jake vote, then she is with us. But it means that if she's not with us and there is an idol, we're still okay. And there's a moment of I think Rachel being like, Fu's not going to like it. And Josh is like, oh, well. Don't care.
That was a good Josh impression. Yes, that's it. Both the Red Tribe, the Virak 4, who are the main characters of this season, really, in a lot of ways, managed the swap so well. They're down in numbers in both cases, and this is an absolute smart play. How do they have certainty that Fu is not running back and telling them the plan? They've got an idol lined up. She's got no certainty about that. It's very, very smart. Josh is saying that he wanted to switch it to Dan because if Jake had an idol, I knew I was the other vote recipient.
Yeah, exactly.
And if Fu has sucked you in, then they will know exactly where to play the idol. So you might as well do it and then see. And all you've done is Fu might not trust you, but where's she going to go?
But I think that's easily explained to say, hey, look, we trusted you, but these guys didn't. So whatever. Like you explain to her exactly what you did, and then you say, but hey, you did what you said you were going to do. So now we know we can trust you. Like, if I was Fu, I wouldn't be too mad at them for that.
Well, she voted for Jake. So what's she going to work with Jake now? Like, it's perfect.
I think she was more upset that Dan got voted out than she got lied to. Because I think she didn't quite love Dan, but she liked him a lot more than she liked Jake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a fantastic move. I think great vote from everyone around. We go to the final redemption challenge,
I think it's also
the same.
surprised because it's edited in such a way that you think Dan is the bigger character of the two. So you probably think Dan is the one making merge, not Jake. So it's sort of a surprise a bit from the editing point of view as well in terms of which one was perhaps. Dan was set up as this character.
Dan is a larger than life character. He's, you know, even in the opening credits when he's like dancing around in the circle in the tent, like
you're sort of waiting for him to launch. Like this guy's going to launch at some point, right? Jake never gives you the impression that he's going to launch. And so when Dan gets booted, you're like, where was the launch? Like, it's a blindside from an edit perspective. And
one spoiler I had going into my first watch is that Val is the one that comes back. So I think if I didn't know that, I think I would have been expecting Dan to get straight back in. Just because of his edit. Yeah. But speaking of redemption, we go to the final redemption challenge. It's the first challenge they did for the day, but all by themselves, that's a lot. I would have been exhausted.
Yeah.
And Val wins her fourth one of the day, and she gets back into the game, which has, I think the only person who's not that keen on that is Casper. Everyone else is like, okay, cool.
And how did this work? Was there a fourth one of these ball towers? Or was it staged? Oh, three of them. Sorry, it's David, it's Dan, and Val. Yeah. I love this idea. I love this idea because it's epic. You want a big final battle back challenge.
Yeah.
And production can just reuse props from an earlier challenge, but it's like, it's the first one, for the first.
Yeah. So we did all the first challenges from each season. Why not have the one from this season?
It's a good narrative. It's really, really good. But it's near mainly so that make another challenge, but like it works really well. Watching the last redemption challenge, Jake and I were arguing on the sidelines the whole time. He was
rivalry of the season right there.
Of course, you'd voted out his idol. That was his idol. He voted it out. Went out the door with Dan. So he lost his idol. That's not what he wants. Look, Valentina, love her story coming out for redemption. I perhaps would have preferred David to come back of these three. I think David could have brought us some more chaos. He's probably a revolving door boot, though, so that's probably less interesting.
I don't know about that.
Maybe he's not.
No, I think blue and red come together.
With David, even after all the shit that went down with him and the Reds and Michael. Because we didn't talk about when Michael threw him under the bus. Like, on the vote where David gets voted out, Michael is like, that's really funny. He tells people he knows him in real life and basically says he's dodgy. I know this guy in real life, but he's dodgy. Like, that's what he says.
You're probably right because, they vote him out. And then if the Birac 4 can still, they've got Fu, so that's 5. If they can pull in Jake, they potentially still have the numbers. But, I think it's not as straightforward of a pagonging as what we actually end up with.
Dan maybe is going to the yellows with Jake, and Abby, so that probably strengthens the yellows more. Casper, sorry. So on the paper, Valentina is potentially the most interesting to come back because surely she's not going to go with.
Surely she's not going straight back to the people that voted her out,
including Casper, who lied to her, who she's been stewing about Casper's lying for an entire day. Sure.
Is it that is the case of better the devil you know? Like, is that what, like?
Well, she said it at Final Tribal. The reason she did it is at Final Tribal, she's like, well, these are the other people I knew. It's like, that's the worst excuse I've ever
I know you come second, Valentina, so who am I to say? But I would have liked to see. Well, we'll talk about that move. And we're going into episode 7. It's a new day. Yellow wake up. Josh is really pleased with himself. He's not quite at 5th yet, it's with his epic legacy, but he's chuffed. He's got blisters. He's very happy. Rachel couldn't think.
This is true.
Sorry.
Look, when we get into this merge vote, I think there's a lot of people that handled this so badly.
We get to the one and Rachel, she couldn't stop thinking about the game. I've been there, know what that's like for sure. Is thinking about all the strats. Casper is worried about Val, who who he betrayed, and really Val should be coming for Casper's neck, which she sort of does for a bit. Jake is just sad that he's lost his idol. Casper is trying to gaslight Jake, but he's not really buying it at this point. That's what I've got.
I love how we get, everyone talking about how poorly they slept, and Michael's like, I got a newborn at home. This is the best night's sleep I've had in ages. I thought that was very funny.
I thought it was funny, and I've had babies, and I know what he means, but I still would have been up all night thinking about the strategy. Like, I don't know. It's a pretty big newborn. That's it. Newborns sleep okay. It's like they get worse at 3 months. Jake is very
you can have
pissed.
a club meeting about that. I'll just sit here.
Depends on your newborn.
Jake is pissed off that Fu has voted for him, and rightly so. Like, as far as he were aware, they were aligned.
I think neither of them handle it very well. Like, she doesn't give him a good explanation, and he doesn't give her the chance to. I think if she just goes to him and say, look, I was told that you were getting the majority of the vote. There was nothing I could do to stop it. I thought I was just jumping on board. They switched it. Like, I don't know if he would accept that, but that's all she can really say. Like, I didn't want to do it, but they told me to vote for you, and I didn't want to go out right after you.
I don't think he would.
He wouldn't have listened to it, but he didn't even give her a chance. He's like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I'm good.
He's not a Survivor super fan, right? Like, it's tough. He's been betrayed. You didn't expect to get betrayed. When you're a confident 17-year-old male who's moonlights as a boxer, you don't get betrayed by people. You don't get.
How dare you?
It doesn't happen. What? I'm going to go keep flirting with my girlfriend.
Guy. Things always go his way.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to flirt with my girlfriend over here. Oh, wait a minute. She's had enough of the flirting. She's got to merge. He's got to merge, and Casper is done with it. You get this great one. Like, I don't even like men.
Love it.
Casper is certain the idol is gone from the well because she searched really hard, and then like the plank is.
I think this is where he picks it up and goes.
This is
maybe not here. Maybe this is later, but it's like.
And also, there's like a scroll in it. I guess that's the.
That'll be like the congratulations, you found an idol.
Yeah. So that should have been pretty obvious, right? That's the obvious bit. The scroll. They're still sort of in their separate tribes, haven't merged yet. Sal has an idol clue, and now it's all gameplay, not social. Not great foreshadowing because it will be all social for you. And Kiara bonds with Val about the difficulty of getting booted, and I think that's really smart from Kiara.
Yeah.
You know, Val might be after all your heads, but like let's bond about, about this, about how we both know what it's like. None of these guys know what it's like. We know what it's like. Very smart.
And Kiara does the right thing in explaining why she was the vote of what I said, which she should have said, what Jake should have said to Holly of just like, you know what, your name came up. I didn't want to be first. I just jumped on it.
That works better for Kiara because she's got the absolute fear of being Francesca'd. Yeah. I think it works as well for
No, I think that works for anyone because that's the first boot. I think it doesn't work for any other round. For a first boot, especially a first boot of your tribe, I think that's a very valid reason. I reckon it's the reason why most people are first boot. Someone who was confident enough to say a name said your name, and it wasn't my name, so I jumped on board.
Yeah. Yellow are now grouping together. They've got all 6 of them. Like, let's do this. Why not?
And I love how they're all going around like, oh, no, they haven't realized that there's 6 of us. Oh, they've noticed. They've got to think Valentina's a strong option to change the numbers. Casper checked the well and saw a dislodged plank. It's got to be Matt. Matt had to be the one. Matt is the only person who could have it.
Matt's the only conceivable person that could have found that idol.
No one else could have it.
The Reds think they can bring Sal, but probably not. Josh wants to bring in Fu. Fu doesn't want to do Jake because that gives Yellow the numbers. Yeah, that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing. But their relationship is fucked. Fu thinks they could bring in Val because she is a crack. Fu doesn't believe that Sal is the crack. And she doesn't believe that Sal's going to do it. She's spot on here. Why is no one listening to Fu?
Listen to Fu.
And then they're like, Fu, this is where they're trying to get some time alone. It's like, Fu, this is where the water is. It's incredibly unsubtle. It's fun.
They've got everyone walking past, like, yeah, it's back there. Oh, yeah, the water's that way, guys.
And then Fu's like, I can read Jake like a book. I'm like, then maybe you shouldn't have voted for him. Because he's not happy with
Okay, but she thought he was going.
True. But you're better off voting the person you can read like a book that she didn't really have to say, I suppose.
She was told who to vote for, and she voted for them.
And then Casper Casper just makes up some complete nonsense story to Valentina about why she voted for it. It's just nonsensical.
I thought it was Matt B, because that is what Casper told Val. We're voting Matt B. And then at the last minute, I got told you were voting for me. And then if I didn't vote you, I was going to go home. Yeah,
Val's not buying it. Val is not.
Because the thing is, all right, in Val's mind, Casper is the one who ran Val's vote out, which is fair. I think that's a good read. But Val also voted for Casper, so it's like you don't have a leg to stand on. You can't really be mad at Casper.
Yeah.
She still is mad at him, but you can't be.
Mm. We get to this bouncing balls challenge. It's sort of fun. Michael wins. It's quite a battle. And then
Casper does it twice, and they put up both times.
Yeah, I've got Abby first out. So Casper first out, then Casper times 2 at 4 minutes. Or 40 seconds, whatever it is. 6 people go fast. It's done. Michael wins, and this is where they are talking about what is the plan. Sal snows Jake super hard, and then even Jake's like, I'm worried about the yellows. They're planning something. Even Jake can see this, right? No offense, Jake, but even Jake can see it. The move is there. Fu knows it. Valentina's the crack. Valentina, who got voted out by these people. Valentina is really worried about Casper. Valentina thinks Casper's just going to vote her out again, send her out again, which is not an irrational fear, because if Casper did spearhead the move, then it makes sense that they want to get you out again because they know you will come for them. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I don't know how Fu doesn't pull
that's a long
Valentina
comment,
over.
Michael.
Yeah, and before we put up this comment, because it might be contrary to what I'm about to say, but to me, on the edit, I felt Matt B was doing a lot to reassure Valentina. There's a lot of conversations where she's saying to Matt B, I'm going, they're targeting me. And he's like, no, we're not. We're together. And I think Matt B has that dad vibe. He seems trustworthy, seems fairly straight up. And I think she's buying what he's selling. She's a mom, he's a dad. I think she believes him and he's telling the truth, of course, that the yellows are sticking together. I think he does a lot to keep her in. We have a comment from Michael.
And it's complete opposite of what you said. It's Kiara and Joe that he's giving credit
to. But really, it's really all of them, doesn't it?
The point that he is making was going to contradict everything that I was going to say. So I'm glad I've seen this first, because I was like, why the red and blue coalition? Why are they targeting Val? And Michael gives us a really good answer here, because everyone was about preserving those swap relationships. Matsy and I weren't prepared to vote Sal, Kiara, or Joe. Josh and Rach weren't prepared to vote Matt B or Casper, so that only leaves Val. Because I'm in my head, I'm like, why? Val should not be the person you are targeting, because Val is the person who you want to flip their vote. So that's why you target Casper. But at that point, Josh is still vibing hard with Casper. So is Rachel. So I just,
Casper is absolutely the right vote here. You can definitely get Jake's not feeling it anymore. Valentina's going to flip on that. That's the one that's palatable to Valentina. And I think I get what the Burak 4 were clearly not quite the Burak 4 at this time, because they shouldn't have been thinking about their side hustles. They should be thinking, how do we get together as a 4 and we just bring in some people? Because they're all thinking about.
I think that's what they were doing. They were like, oh, well, Matt and Michael are like, well, Sal might flip with us. Kiara might flip with us. Joe might flip with us. They're thinking about who they can bring in.
I think that's nonsense. I don't think Kiara and Joe are flipping with anybody. It's just nonsense.
No.
Salvador, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sal flipped on Val, so.
Jake goes, it's a bit of a boring merge boot as a result. It's
the only interesting part is the fact that 3 people flipped their vote on the revote.
Yes, now that's the most fascinating thing here. And it provides for Casper's wonderful double vote where she says, at the time, I'm gay, and then still gay. which is a fantastic bit. The multiple people flipping shows this was perhaps a bit more interesting than not, because
I love going into the next episode when they're talking about it. Josh is like, "That was me. I'm the one that flipped. They're gonna be so mad at me." And then Fu's like, "I flipped." Everyone's gonna be mad, and then they're like, "You flipped too? Oh my god!"
And then someone doesn't believe that. If we go into it,
I think Matt B doesn't believe it. They're like, "No, this is Fu being sneaky. They're trying to convince us that one of ours isn't with us." And Sal's like, that's exactly what they're doing.
That's exactly what's going on. And Salvador's loving it, jumping in there. Josh is annoyed at himself for flipping. Fu comes out with another great confessional, which describes the vote as a spicy enchilada. At this point, everyone's working out who flipped from yellow, and Josh has finally cottoned on that Casper's actually good at the game. Val, notwithstanding the fact that this vote just happened, and she didn't get... Did she get vote? Yeah, because,
Who, Val?
Yeah, Val gets vote. Right?
Val got a lot of votes, yes.
Yeah. She's in trouble, and she's worried about Casper. I'm like, the yellow's stuck with you. Who do you think... What do you think happened here? Like, the people you're worried about are the only ones that stuck with you, and that just enshrines it. Like, they really shouldn't have voted for it. Even if they didn't, get her in that vote, they needed to keep her, now everyone's voted for it, as Kyle said before. So why does it stick with the yellows? The yellow vote was a whole day ago. All these new people just voted for her.
They stuck with me.
Yeah. It's a horrible choice of person to vote. And sets up what happens now for the next couple of episodes. The combo between Val, Matt, and Kiara is really good when they're working out the votes, but Matt's like, none of us flipped, I'm like, it's good that Salvador wasn't there for that conversation, because he might have not been to hide his face.
Oh no, he's taking that one to the grave. He ain't telling anyone.
We get a great package though of how Salvador is playing both sides of everyone, which he is. And now Casper's thinking about a flip, because he doesn't want to play a boring game. He wants to take out Matt, because Matt's got that idol, and we've got to.
If you guys want to make a Matt B vote happen, I can make a split vote happen, and you guys and they're all like, "Okay, we'll vote out Casper. This is even better."
And then there's this great bit where Josh also foreshadows what's going to happen in the rest of the show. They do this quite a bit, where he says, well, the Blues are going to go, and then the Reds, and then it's going to be the yellow guys, and it'll be the 3 yellow girls at the end, which is almost spot on. Almost spot on. Salvador wins the last challenge, right? If he doesn't win that, I reckon he probably goes, right? So
I think if Kiara wins final immunity, Sal goes. But
what if Joe's immune?
No, Kiara goes.
I don't think Joe's voting for Kiara.
I just watched the finale 2 hours ago.
Did Joe say she'd vote for Kiara?
We've been to a podcast for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours ago. I just watched it.
Did Joe say she'd vote for Kiara?
No, but Val and Sal were always voting for Kiara.
Yeah, but I'm saying it could be 2-2. Could be 2-2.
We'll get to that, but no, I think Kiara needed to win final immunity.
Yeah. Casper's split plan is falling apart. It sounds like nonsense. So look, I don't think Casper's got some of the plan. I guess it's the Matt B plan, and Fu gives her a look, and it's fucking hilarious. We get the breakfast auction. You need to have $100 left to be in the challenge. I like that. I like you can spend more. Yes, that's new. I've never seen that before. I like the beggars table. That's sort of fun. Michael gets set to the letter. I thought it was nice that Matt buys Michael his letter. Matt B, these were obviously 12 notes. Matt B and Josh did not purchase their letter from home, which we famously know was from Mark. Abby gets an advantage for $250. Then Josh pays. I was sure that was not going to be anything, Josh. I don't know why you paid $400 for that. Sal gets the idle map, but I don't think it's a map. It's the same fucking clue they've been giving everyone. Why do they say idle map? It's no map. Anyway, and that's going to be a massive regret for Josh. He pays $400 for the yoga, and then the idle map comes out next, and he's spent all his money. Then Kiara's so nice that she shouts Michael to play in the challenge because he has no
That's
money.
nice.
Anyone else would say that's jury pandering or strategic, but I think Kiara's just nice.
I think it'd be harsh for someone to not be able to compete in the challenge.
Yeah. Josh, did yogurt ready? We should have won the yogurt. And they're stacking coins on a sword. I thought that was really cool.
I like it.
And I liked Casper's advantage. I thought that worked really well. My one question
I would
was
have played it at the minute the challenge started. I'd be like, cool, I'm just going to start 3 coins after everyone else, not wait till it gets to a certain point. I don't think it matters. I think as soon as you play it, you've got a 3 coin head start.
Where did they get 11 bum bags from? Who even owns bum bags?
I don't know, but I liked it because I was like, well, where else are you going to put the coins?
Yeah.
You have a little table there.
Matt wins. This thing goes for 30 minutes. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Josh says, I saw a Kluberkine car, which was 3rd in the sequence. That's why I bid so high. Then they switched it after that. Well, stop trying to cheat, Josh. It's your own fault.
I'm sorry. That is something you would do.
You would exactly what you would have done, CK. Let's be real.
That is get you some ORCA points, Josh.
Trying to cheat.
If I had that idol, I like to think I would have played it on Foo. Oh, I mean, you were all seemed to be pretty aware that it was going to be Foo. They didn't do a good job of hiding it.
No. And it is Foo that goes here. It's a bit of a fait accompli. Very sad to see her go. And then we roll into episode 9. Who was doing 9?
Me.
That's Dani's.
Basically go straight into more confessionals of Val, talking about how Casper's a threat. Casper is really disappointed in Josh and Matt B from that vote. And then we're talking about 6 yellow versus 4 red at this point. We find out that we're in a double trouble. I think I've got both the double troubles here with 2 immunities on offer. The split tribes are Michael, Kiara, Joe, Valentina, and Caspar. And then both Matts, Rachel, Josh, and Sal. You
couldn't have orchestrated a better split.
This is where production finally gets something to go their way after no one finding any of their fucking advantages. Everyone's saying, finally, because this season is heading for a boring 10 episodes to come. It splits in the most absolutely perfect way to break up this because it was going to be 4 straight votes of red people.
Yes. Yeah, that's like that perfectly.
For a little bit.
Like I can see the boys behind camera being like, yes.
And it already feels like a really long merge anyway because they merged with 12.
Yeah,
it's because they started with 18. So I think I get it, but it feels like a long merge. And imagine if you just had 4 reds.
It would have been interesting if all the yellows stuck together and then they get down to 6. Like you would have had to yada all the red votes, but then the final 6 onwards would have been interesting of what happens there.
Why? It wasn't the final 4 wasn't that interesting.
No, but at that point there's only one person to vote out and you vote out the biggest threat. I think when there's 6 of them and Casper and Matt B are still there, I think that creates a bit more interesting. I think Casper is probably still the first one of them to go.
Yeah.
But Kiara's threat level rises every episode, so I don't know. But anyway. I like this guy.
That's the holding the sword.
Yeah, now they're all doing it this way. The Adam Klein has shared a hack. You kind of hold it that way. You put pressure downwards and it creates a much better tension. But none of them are doing that. Michael wins it and he looks like he is pulling it straight out.
Yeah, Michael wins, Maddie C wins. Then we're going to simultaneous tribal, so you will be going to the tribal at the same time. But 5 can only vote for 5, but you can share advantages and idols can be played across.
Yeah, they're able to talk to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like they get to sit there and watch that happen. Maddie B is obviously super concerned. Basically, everyone's super paranoid at this point. Everyone's super paranoid that it's them, but probably none. It's really interesting here because it kind of seems like, Casper's obviously a huge threat. She seems more worried about Sal being the vote here. Like, do we Like they just like seem to focus on Sal as opposed to like focusing on themselves for this vote. Is that my read of it, or am I just?
I think Casper was very confident that it was going to be Val.
Yeah.
Casper didn't think for a second that he was in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, he just seems more focused on helping Sal find the idol than he does.
Yeah. Because he's like, cool. We've just made a final 3 deal. I'm going to final 3 with Joe and Kiara. We're going to vote out Val here. Last in, first out. And then, cool, I'm going to be fine. So I need Sal here as well. So I'm going to help Sal find the idol.
Yeah.
If I was Casper, I don't think I would believe that both Joe and Kiara are snowing me. Like,
no,
you just don't see that.
I wouldn't think, especially particularly like Kiara. Like, I'm like, she's like,
yeah.
Kiara's my number one.
Yeah.
They all voted for Valentina out in the first episode. I'm telling you, has the redemption story. You know, and Kiara's told you to your face that she's voting out Valentina.
I would not be doubting that.
Yeah. And Joe too. Joe's a fairly straight up player as well. So they've done nothing and they've not behaved in a way that people would think that they're deceptive, which is a great time to actually deceive someone. Fantastic move.
No, brilliant move. I was just a super interesting. Like I was like, but now
I get what Casper's doing.
And also, Casper is convinced that Matt B has an idol. So if Sal can have an idol as well, so they can both play idols, well, then one of the Burak 4 is going.
Yes. So it's time to find that idol. Has he found the rock idol at this point, or is he still looking for that one too?
I think he finds both of them in this episode.
This is where it's very funny. He finds both here. We will get this very fun montage of Josh chasing Sal all around while Sal's looking for because Sal finds the idol clue without realizing that finds the clue. Obviously goes to try to find the rock idol, ends up finding both at this point, which has been very impressive. Rachel doesn't want to vote for Matt B. They've got a little secret alliance going on.
How many times do we hear about their secret alliance? He talks about it a lot.
Josh didn't know about it. That's for sure.
It's a secret.
It was a secret.
It's a secret. A very big secret.
From the edit perspective, it didn't seem very secret, but obviously on the day,
in confessional is the only time we see her talking about it.
Yeah, I know, but they were really always together, like early on. Matt B and Rachel just leaving Josh with his broken knee to do the chasing.
I think that's why it was even more comical because like Josh obviously limping along, chasing after Sal, who's just like leaving him in the dust.
When Josh is walking around, he doesn't seem injured. It's when he starts to run that you're like, oh fuck, he's in a bad way.
Yeah.
Had he told anyone about it at this point? Because he was keeping it a secret.
He's keeping it a secret.
I know. Like,
he wasn't telling anyone about his blisters. You think he's going to tell them about a broken leg?
I had a bad knee at Melbourne Survivor, and you can see it you can see it when I run too. It's fine walking around, but when you run, you can see it, like because you're making yourself run through the pain. I was actually feeling good day 2, so that's why I could chase Laurel through the bushes. But day 1 was very sore.
The secret alliance was because Rachel is besties with Zach, so she knew Matt B. Oh, okay.
Yes, no one can chase Sal then. Matt could have chased Sal all day. Rachel also, I think it's Rachel or Fu. One of them used to date Hal. I don't know which one. One of the Rachels.
I think that was Fu.
You think it was Fu? Sure. Hal told me it was Rachel, but he probably doesn't call. Like, if he was dating Fu, he probably doesn't call her Fu. He calls her Rachel. So I don't know which
Rachel and Matt B walked on 4, so Jess could go straight Megan on 5. Wow.
It was Fu. I like that couple. That's fun.
That's fun.
At this point, I didn't care about hiding the injury anymore. Yeah, because, of course.
Yeah, you need to hide it in the tribal stage. Individual, it's like, all right, cool. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's part of the reason. I mean, he wins immunity at Final 6, but it's part of the reason he's the last Burak member standing, I'd say.
Yeah, we see the girls talk about
what of the 4 of them, he's probably the least likely to win.
Yeah,
that's why they keep him as well.
Yeah. So the girls talking about how frustrated they are that Michael won immunity because he would have been the obvious boot for them, so he's having to rejig. Yeah. All right, let me go. there's like a bunch of strat. I'm just jumping through. At tribal, Matt B calls himself Dead Man Walking. Because at this point he's like, because everyone's pretty sure Sal has the idol. He hasn't confirmed it, but he's like, well, I'm the next up. Then, and we see Matty C gets to pick who gets to vote first because he won the first immunity.
He lasted longer than Michael in the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, which I thought was super interesting. How would you feel in that situation, being like you get to pick?
I think most people want to see the other tribe go first.
Yeah, you're not going to pick yourself, but just in that situation to be like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, the only person that really cares about that is CK because he wants to finish one place higher.
Yeah.
Because look, for me, if you finish second or if you finish 12th, it's the same. You didn't win, so I would not care what placement I get.
I don't think this isn't how Mark. This is not how orcas think. Mark was so desperate to get to 5th just for the same.
No, I know. I am orca enough. I only want. No, this is not the orca. This is the Scorpio. I want to win.
I know.
Loser.
I think making every episode is an achievement. Making the finale.
No, I want to win.
No,
like once you've hit the milestone of I've made the merge and I'm on the jury, from there I want to win.
Next
my first
milestone
juror, my
is
last juror, I go
episode.
king.
Every episode is a milestone. You want that screen time, baby.
We see Casper get voted out first, who gets up and calls out Michael and Joe for their fake final 3. Like, basically, okay, thanks. Great final 3, guys.
Well calling out everyone for not spelling the name right.
Yeah.
That's you can't call people out for that. I always see this on Reddit. It's like, well, why do they know people's names? Because you can't ask
someone.
Ask them how to spell their name.
Like, you don't need to know. You don't need to know.
It's out curiosity. You do
not need to know how to spell my name.
Yeah, no, you don't ask
that.
We see Sal play. He plays the Waterwell idol.
Plank of wood and Casper's face.
Casper is shook, like absolutely gobsmacked. Cannot fathom shit. Like you can see. Or like it's kind of like the diagrams above her head, like just putting all the pieces together.
She probably also felt that Sal had it for a long time.
Yeah,
yes.
Which wasn't the case, but that probably made her feel made him feel more like an idiot. That he'd always be, it's Matt B, trying to help Sal find it when Sal always had. I imagine that wasn't what happened, but I imagine that's what was going through his head.
100%, absolutely, yeah, fully feel like Sal's pulled the wool over her eyes, which wasn't the case, but yeah.
Where was he? Where was he hiding this thing? Was it just in his bag?
In his bag.
Yeah.
I think that's why he chose to play that one first, because the other one's this tiny little thing, and he's like, I need to get rid of this.
We had them both out though.
No, he didn't.
I thought he had another one.
No one knew about the second one until his final travel.
Okay. I'm misremembering. Anyway, and then Matty gets voted out to a large applause. He gets like a thunderous applause here when he gets voted out, which I thought was cute.
I think Jack's on the crew, so he's probably.
Yeah, well, that's my next note is that like in the last confessional, little Zach cameo comes in talking about like, haha, you didn't beat my spot. So I thought that.
Yeah, and then Jessica says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, exactly. And then
we haven't mentioned that we should mention. We missed the Calvin one with Matt C and his note.
And the letter.
The letter from home written by Calvin. Calvin's there. That's fantastic.
That's so good.
Yeah. There's another cameo coming up. But yeah, that one with the Calvin letter was spectacular.
That's one thing that Backyard do that I like when they've got, because every LRG does this. The people from the one season crew the next season. For Backyard, we get the little cameos from the previous players. Like we see Sal in season 5 is going to give Jess the legacy advantage. We see Michael's going to be there giving someone an icy pole. Like they're all there.
Yeah. I like it too. I like the little pictures they bring up.
It's cute.
I love that. I also love the letters from home. I don't know if any other LRG can do this letters from home concept now because Backyard sort of claimed it. And like people copy from each other, but it's sort of, they were the first ones to think of doing it, having someone write you a letter to bring and then open.
And I was like, oh my God, it's been 2 days. Like, it's not going to be a big deal. But they're all getting so emotional about it. I'm like, okay, fair.
Well, you don't normally ask your loved ones to write a special letter to you about, what they love about you or what's great about you, or
To be fair, like if we'd done that in Melbourne before, and like obviously travelled interstate and away from my family, get to a certain point in the game, I would have been quite emotional reading. Like even if it was like a picture from one of the kids, I would have been like, oh my god.
You just don't. We just don't talk to each other like that,
No,
And
no.
Well, even Rachel, who said that her fiance, he's a words of affirmation guy. That is his love language. So she probably gets words like that all the time, but she's still got very emotional reading it.
But it's not words of positivity, and not a long letter of prose with lots of thoughts and
different. And then we got the click out banger. They're going straight into the next immunity.
Which, to be fair, it's straight into the next immunity challenge. But the next immunity challenge is touchy subjects. So they all need to go and be separate anyway. So, but I think I really like this because we see them all. They're writing out their answers, and we're getting the confessional sort of peppered in. Like we're getting them giving little jokes of like, who's the biggest flirt? Josh. Everyone's saying Josh for that one. But then they're all like, okay, this is where we're at. Josh is like, well, now it's 4-4. We're back in this, like, oh my god. And it's a very interesting dynamic, and I love having touchy subjects immediately after the split tribal. This is the perfect timing to have touchy subjects.
I love touchy subjects. I love touchy subjects.
I love it all the time. Normally I'm not a fan of the popping the balloon in a 4-4 situation. I don't mind it because there's no clear advantage, but they all obviously pop all of each other's, and it's pretty much from the minute that the yellow side gets the first few, gets more answers correct on the first one, and they knock Matt C out very first, they're going to win from there.
Yeah.
Because they've straight away got 4-3. So we see Matt C out first, and Sal, Michael, Val, Rachel, Josh, Joe, and Kiara wins. Do we want to go through the answers? Because I have them all written here.
No, 2 hours 30.
Yeah. The main thing that stood out to me is... the main thing that stood out to me is that who is the dark horse of the game? Kiara was one of them. I'm like, is Kiara a dark horse? Like, Rachel, yes, I understand dark horse, but no,
Kiara's a dark horse going in, and we're seeing the rise of this horse.
Yeah. Josh was horrified to see that he got told the most lies. Like,
hasn't
he's been sneaky.
Yeah. Sneaky, not subtle.
Sorry?
He's sneaky but not subtle about it. That's ORCA vibes. That's ORCA vibes right there. Sneaky but not subtle.
Okay, fair. But yeah, look, as soon as the challenge is over, I was better that I was the answer to bad questions. You got the biggest flirt, though. That was the obvious one.
Didn't you get who's playing the worst game? Didn't you get who's playing the worst game, or who's not the who's worst enough to get 0 votes?
Who's not cut out for Backyard Survivor?
Yeah, that's right. He's cut out for the Backyard Survivor. That's pretty insulting.
Yeah.
No offense, but Joe's right there, and she's
Joe did not get a single answer, which I'm kind of surprised. Oh no, sorry. Who easiest to beat at Final Tribal? She got so. Anyway.
They said Kiara was the easiest to beat at Final Tribal. That was the answer.
Yeah, Joe.
Oh, Joe. Yeah.
Josh says, I seriously don't think I lied much. I said stuff straight at people. Yeah, I agree. You were a bitch and you owned it.
That's ORCA-ish. All this is ORCA-ish.
All right. Look, the ORCA vibes are rising, okay? Look, being here commenting, that helps you as well. But look, there's a lot of strat chat between the challenge and tribal, all for nothing. We know it's going to go to rocks. Like, as soon as it's going to be 4-4. And everyone's there trying to get someone else to flip. But I think this is one situation that it results-oriented aside, it does not make sense for anyone to flip, because whichever side wins is going to stick together. So if a red flips, they're going to be...
Rachel earlier said she wouldn't go to rocks. It's a very different scenario here. But do you think she would be interested in flipping if the rock... she was going to rocks for Matt. Of course, Matt is her strongest... Mark says sometimes in LRGs the masses can't see the ORCA from the trees, maybe from the coral. Hence the call on Josh not being cut out.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you think Matt's her number one? Mm-hmm. If that vote is on Josh, is Rachel going to rocks for Josh?
No, I think they're sticking together. I think when people go to rocks, there's a lot of conversations around I would go to rocks for this person, for that person. You really shouldn't be thinking like that. You need to think about, okay, if I flip, what is going to happen next? If you're thinking realistically, if I flip and can I get a crack to happen, then yes, you should flip. But if the other side is going to be this tight fought, like look at the most recent season of Australian Survivor, not to be super result orientated, but that postgraduates alliance was always going to stick strong. There was no cracking them. And this whole group is like, well, I'm not going to go to Rocks for Logan. You're not going to Rocks for Logan. You're going to Rocks to save yourself. Because as I said, I'm not interested in getting one place further. I'm interested in winning. Now, if you only want to go, well, I want to survive this vote, then you flip. But yeah.
What's it mean? Yeah, when 3 of that 4 don't know what rocks mean. Like,
This is true.
But look, I think you're right. I think it's final 8. You got to, everyone loves to say risk it for the biscuit. Yeah, risk it for the biscuit. We just said that. That's what everyone says. At that point, you do, because you do get to roll on with the game. And this rock draw, the producer, the Survivor God shone down on Kyle and Brian and gave them that split tribal to get to these numbers, to get to a rock draw. Mm-hmm. And it did not shine down on the outcome, unfortunately.
It did not. And Michael was the first person to put his hand in that bag. So he sealed everyone else's fate straight away.
And then we had a cameo with him and Steven, his rock buddy.
Him and Steven getting a hug. I love that. And then at the end, they're like, yeah, it's silent. And Steven saying he's still got his rock at home. And Michael's like, no, I gave it straight back. I didn't want to keep that. I would have kept it.
Good little cameo. But sad for the rest of the next season, the next 2 boots.
Yeah,
2 boots.
There would have been a very interesting run if Red had survived that one. But, oh well.
I actually believe that the Reds would have stuck together. Who are they voting out? Who?
I think they're well, as Kyle said, they're targeting Sal next, who plays an idol. But I think even without that, I think they get out one person next, and then they start coming for each other because they know there's too many good game players there. Michael said earlier he would have targeted Matt C next. I do think we made a mistake voting Sal. Should have been Joe. We rewarded Sal because he was immune from even drawing a rock. Yeah, well, also, but why didn't Sal play his idol? Like,
I presume he thought it didn't. Well, if it's going to rocks, like, then you're wasting your idol.
True, but if you're either you're the vote and your idol play works and you survive, or if you're not the vote, you then are immune from drawing a rock.
Yeah, you're right. He should be playing. The optimal move is to play. I think he should be playing it
every time.
You're right.
But anyway, so we go to the next episode, and everyone's just like, "Well, shit! Like that happened." The Reds are like, "Well, look, we're fucked now. There's no coming back from that. They know they're all dead in the water." And the Yellows are like, "No, we're the Reds."
From a production point of view, I feel, and maybe it was because I haven't watched all of this super recently, was the Matt boot and the Rachel boot one episode?
No.
It's probably should have been one. I think that could have been one episode.
Oh, wait.
Josh says, I think.
No, yes, it is. It is. Sorry, because this is episode 11. Episode 12 is the finale. So
Matt C and Sal did have some
Matt
secret.
C and Rachel are in the same episode
to make themselves the vote, so they're immune from drawing a rock. Yeah,
they did is mention of that. But I still would think Sal should play his idol.
Yeah, it's smart.
But also, I think Sal is also aware that if he comes out on the wrong side, he knows he's the vote, so he knows he's not getting vote. I don't know. I think he's got balls for not playing it.
It's ballsy for not playing it. That's what it is. Like he's got it for another vote. He's counting this rocks is happening. He's counting that none of the girls are going to flip on him. And he's like, well,
even if my side loses, I've got an idol to protect me for the next one. Like,
yeah. He backs himself maybe to win some challenges. It's a bold call. I like it. It's maybe not. It's not optimal in the moment, but it's optimal for his game, and it's very bold.
The winner's move.
My favorite part of this next bit is where Josh he's lost Michael now, who was his partner in crime, his ride or die. So now he's all in with Rachel. He's got a special relationship with Rachel. Well,
yeah, look, I've got some notes about that, but we pretty much go, we have our little celebration and our commiseration. We go to the challenge. We've got to run around, find numbers to solve an equation. And this is where I first noticed just how much Josh is struggling, because there was running involved in this one, and he's just hobbling all over the place. And he still comes quite close. He loses the challenge by this much to Kiara.
Tricky maths.
He's pretty clear. He's pretty clever. But yeah, so it's pretty clear that Matt is going to be going at the challenge threat. Rachel trusts Matt more than she trusts Josh. Matt is her like alliance. So she's trying to throw Josh under the bus. And then we get a Josh confessional talking about how much she trusts Rachel. And it's like,
it's great. It's a great moment.
That's one of my favorite things in like all Survivor, all LRGs is when one person is like, we have this brilliant relationship. I trust them so much. And the other person's like, this fucking guy. Like, no, whatever you want. Like, yeah, so good. I love it.
But she can't. She can't make them vote out Josh instead because they shouldn't. They should definitely be voting out Matt C.
Matt C is the challenge threat. Josh has a broken leg. He's not very good at challenges. Matt C is the prime candidate to win at this point. Josh, not so much. But yeah, look, we get to tribal. The Reds are really trying to get the yellow girls to flip onto Sal. And there's a funny moment of Matt saying, you know, it's not a final four. And Sal's like, did you guys confirm that? Is it actually not a final? Like, he's pretending he thought it was a final four. This is not drunk Survivor.
He didn't think it was a final four. He's just.
No, I know. It was a funny moment, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt gets voted out 4-3 over Sal.
But kudos to Maddie C for coming into this for not prepping to play, coming over to crew.
You don't need to prep.
Yeah, I'm not a prepper.
No, I know, but just just to switch into game mode is just it's impressive.
I think Matt C's game mode. I think Matt C's game mode is Matt C in real life. I think it's Matt C.
Josh, I was shocked watching it back, seeing how Rachel went behind my back. I had no clue. But I was all in on Birak. The biggest bitch was actually the most loyal. You can be a villain and be loyal. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
I think
is Josh the villain of the season?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go, Josh. Even if you don't get the ORCA, you're the villain.
In this next vote, is this where Joe and Val, and probably Kiara, but is she getting to the end? I don't know. Is this where they stuff up? Should they be voting Salvador at this next vote?
Well, we'll get to that.
She has notes.
I have notes. So then we go straight into the next challenge. It's the balance beam with the wobbly table. Josh wins, and he gets to go on a high tea reward. He takes Rachel and Val, and they're pitching to Val why she should flip and come with them. And we get this great moment where Josh is like, "Oh, Val, come with me. We'll talk over here." He fetches Val away from the table and then signals to Rachel, and she starts looking for the idol, under the table, in all the food. It was a great moment. I love it. And I just love how he's like, "Yeah, Val, come talk to me." And he's fetching. And then he comes over and he's like, "Oh, did the wind knock the cake over?"
I actually think that's the only smart reason for taking Rachel. I think he would have been better off with Val and Kiara.
I think he needed to take this, but I think he thought there was potentially going to be an idol at the thing. Why he gets it?
They're both safe, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So we see they're pitching Val. That Val, you're on the bottom of that floor. They're going to vote you out next as soon as we're gone. And Val is buying it. She wants to go with them, but she is tight with Sal. So she goes up to Sal and is like, "Oh, I think we should go along with them. We should vote." And they do the right thing of saying, you can pick who we vote for. We don't care. As long as it's not us, you can choose. And she says, "I want to take out Joe." Comes back to Sal, and Sal's like, yeah. But then again, we get another one of those flashbacks where he's like, "No, we're not doing that. Well, that doesn't work for me."
Why does Val want to take out Joe?
I think she's just least close to her. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
why does
she hasn't cottoned on that Kiara is the biggest threat?
She's not the bottom of the four. This is the thing.
Val?
She has. I guess people are still selling the redemption story, but she's not. She's number 3.
That's the thing they sell. They say, "Look, you've come back in the game. You're the biggest threat to win out of them. They're going to come for you. That's why you're on the bottom. They already voted you out once."
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I think,
who was the
Val was very close to doing it, but she would have forced a tie. So that's the only reason she didn't.
The problem is they needed Kiara and Joe to flip on Sal. Those were the people to target, not Val. I think the problem is Val is a very, very loyal player. Josh says that was an iconic moment. So much fun. Yeah, we thought there'd be advantage, idol, hope for a steal a vote, force the yellows to rocks, blah, blah. Yeah, it would have been great. I think Val's just too loyal of a player, and particularly if her loyalty was most to Sal, that's not great. Val, Joe, and Kiara are a package. I think you wanted them to take out Sal or Val, but that's still not a great strategy for Kiara. Like if she actually recognizes her threat position, but she wants as many picks as possible.
That's something I was about to say. I don't
she
think she does.
is in the mindset, oh, I'm the first boot, I'm a dud. She doesn't see that she is the biggest threat in the game.
Yeah.
And in her mind, Val is the biggest threat, is the one who's come back from
redemption. Yeah.
And they need to take Val out at 4, and that makes sense to her.
Redemption people.
She's the opposite of Jake.
Yeah, but redemption people are rarely going to win the game. It depends on the jury. And
when the people who were on redemption are not on the jury, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's like you went out and you come right back in.
Like Haley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just if it's, you played you have to play a very strong game in that post-merge for people to be able to overlook the fact that you were voted out in the first place.
And I just don't think Valentina's done that, so I don't see...
You would need to be at the end with, Joe and... Does she beat Josh? No, Josh has too many friends on the jury.
And no one has the perception of what Valentina's had to do to get through that first day. She really fought for it. She battled hard. It was amazing. But no one knows that. None of the jury knows.
And ultimately, her final tribal council performance is not great as well. She's not a strong talker. But we're skipping ahead. One thing I noticed at the Rachel tribal, I don't know if it's something they've been doing the whole time. Everyone is wearing a backwards cap. Everyone.
That's a sort of thing.
Josh, Rachel, Kiara, Val, Sal, Kyle, and Brian. Joe is the only person without wearing a baseball cap on backwards. What was this something you were doing all day and I missed it? Are you making fun of someone? What is that? I don't know, but I was like, why are they doing that? I think I first noticed it with Kiara and I was like, wait, they're all doing it.
Yeah, Kiara wearing a backwards cap is a weird look. So yeah, I think there's some sort of joke going on.
Yeah, I think it's an in-joke. But anyway, yeah, it's a very straightforward Rachel Fortune vote. But yeah, I think at the voting booth, we see Val sort of talking about she wants to do Joe, but she's like, it'll be 3-3. I'm not going to do that because Sal has straight up said we ain't doing that.
I don't see any value in Valentina going to a 3-3 for Joe.
No.
For Salvador, sure. Or getting Kiara. Oh, wow.
There you go. Josh said because the sun was going down, they made us put him on backwards for lighting.
That's a boring answer. Okay, production.
I thought you were trying to be funny. Because they were all doing it. Anyway. So then we go into the finale. Did you like Rachel and I getting mouthy at tribal? Josh, I love when anyone gets mouthy at tribal.
Mouthy's are the best. Mouthy tribal is the best.
And then they're calling out Joe and Kiara.
Mouthy tribals are fun.
We had tribal in the back of that tribal. None of those were planned. Okay, fair.
We didn't talk about the icy pole travel. I normally get pissy at giving them food, but I'm okay with it in that circumstance.
When it's a super hot day,
need to.
Yeah, it hydrates them. It gives them sugar. It's important. But yeah, look, we didn't talk about them getting mouthy at tribal, but yeah, they're saying you guys aren't doing anything. You need to make a move. But then I think after it, Joe and Kiara make a really good move of everyone has stuck to their alliance this game. You guys did it. You've come out on the wrong side, so now it's boring that we're doing it. But they say it to each other and not to the jury. If they'd said it to the jury, that would have been much better.
What's Kiara's plan, though? That if she gets to the final four with Salvador, he doesn't win the challenge.
She's going to vote out Val.
Who is?
Kiara. Kiara's thinking they're all voting out Val. She thinks it's her, Sal, and Joe at final 3.
Is she losing that one?
No.
You think she's beating Sal?
You think she beats Sal?
She wins any jury that she's on. Unless she's up against one member of the Birac 4. Any combination of all yellow, she wins.
I'm not so sure about against Sal.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree that she beats Sal.
I think a lot of people have said that she wins in a landslide if she's on the jury. You guys are in the chat. Does Kiara win if she's at the end?
There's 3 of them in the chat, but yes, it's been a long pod. Thank
Anyway.
you for sticking with us, Josh, who's
Yes.
desperate to get that award, and Kyle, who wants to hear us talk about one of his babies, and whoever the third of you is.
Kiara 100% beats Sal. Told you.
Right, there you go. All right, great.
Okay, there you go.
But anyway,
Where's Kyle now?
look, we go into the finale. Kiara would have beat Sal. We were all rooting for her and bitter at Sal. See?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bitter
They're
baby
bitter.
query, and half of them aren't like super game body or know the game, like so. Like it's
Yeah, and like if it's a different jury, maybe it's a different story. But yeah, I can see
not really
that.
a game. It's not really a gamer jury.
No.
Like only the gamers are the Barack 4, and if they're all salty at the way Sal like played them the whole time, then like maybe they're not getting over that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of groupthink in juries. If everyone's there talking about how great Kiara's story is and blah blah blah, you get influenced by that shit.
Yeah. But anyway, we get to the finale. We get Val and Sal telling Josh, yeah, we're going to vote Kiara. She's the biggest jury threat. We definitely vote her here. They ain't voting her. We get the challenge with the fire puzzle, and it's a solution that's like far away, and they got to keep running back for it. And Josh is, instead of running back to look at that, Josh is looking at Sal's. Clever. And Sal's doing more running than anyone, but Val ends up taking it. Yeah, look, it looks like we get the image that Sal and Val are at least considering a Kiara vote here. Because they're like, well, what happens if we vote out Josh and then Kiara wins final immunity? But then also, what if we vote out Kiara and then Josh wins final immunity? They don't want to sit next to either of them. So
why
I think
is Kiara thinking about it? Why is no one thinking of? Is Josh that dangerous to bring to the end?
I think because he's the last man standing of that group, he's got the underdog story at this point.
And he probably gets their 3 votes, but there's a lot of votes.
He probably gets Foo's vote. Casper's mad at the other yellows. I think there's a case. He doesn't beat Kiara, but if he's in like maybe with a Val and a Joe, I think he can win. But I think it's someone we don't want that wild card at the final tribal. I think it's more the issue. But anyway,
I think that if you're Kiara, you want Josh in the final 4 because you don't want there to be 2 potential goats. That's the problem.
This is where she's thinking. She's not thinking of herself as the biggest threat.
Yeah.
So if she realized her own threat level, she would be thinking like that. Like let's keep. But also, Josh is not pitching to her. He is pitching her as the vote. So maybe Josh should have been going to Kiara and saying, you're the biggest threat. They're going to come for you at 4. You need to keep me around one more round.
Is he? He's doing that with Sal, right?
Time crunch is an issue.
Is he doing that with Sal instead?
He's telling Sal and Val that Kiara is the biggest jury threat, and that's why they need to vote her.
Do they buy that?
They're considering it.
The thing is, they know that. That's why they're keeping Kiara around.
If they vote out Josh and she wins final immunity, and that's the problem with this final 5 vote. You have to be thinking about, well, what happens if this person wins final immunity?
The thing is, Sal is backing himself to win a challenge. Val's backing themselves to win a challenge. Again, Josh should be with Kiara, who might not be backing herself so strongly to win the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kiara's not going to buy that because she doesn't see herself as a threat.
I don't know. When she went out, she seemed to be aware of how good she'd played. Or was it dissatisfaction? I don't know.
I think it's satisfaction.
I said, watch her, she's winning. Because it's just an amazing story.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible story.
But yeah, so we get at Tribal, Josh is putting up his best fight. He's like, you know what? Well, Joe said, there you go. Josh is saying he'd kind of burnt Joe and Kiara by that point. So we get because at Tribal, Josh is putting up a fight. He eventually does get voted out. And then we get a really sad moment afterwards with Joe talking about how everyone's been dragging her. She's starting to believe it. She's feeling a bit defeated. She's like, do I even want to face that jury? Like, they're just going to drag me. Guys, just vote me out. So it's getting to her. So that's probably
by that point. That's hard.
Yeah, to be dragged Tribal after Tribal. And she knows she's not a gamer. She knows she's not going to win. And it's just, I think it's, yeah. But yeah, it is a sad moment when we get, oh my God, you are so annoying. We get, sorry. Yeah, we get Josh voted out. It's a sad moment. I think all the Birac 4 are just like, oh, there's our last chance. Now we're going to have to vote for one of these yellow bitches. But yeah, look, I think that at that moment, Sal and Val are like, we're voting Kiara next. Like, she can't win final immunity. And Joe's like, no, everyone vote for me. And then Kiara's like, no, I'll stick with you. Like, they've got a really nice bond. I like seeing that connection.
Yeah, agree.
Final immunity challenge. It's kind of like a submersion type thing of a ball going through a chute, and then you got to catch it and put it back in. It reminded me a little bit of in like the 90s when Play School would do the day of the week. There was like a ball that would come down and like pop.
Oh yeah, cute. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembers that.
Yeah.
I'm showing my age here, but that's all right. So we get Sal winning final immunity, his first immunity win of the day. Everyone's pumping him up as this challenge beast, and here it comes true. And this is the first time that anyone has been very open about a vote. They're like, Kiara, we're voting you. They managed to get Joe on board. They tell her it's going to be, this is a move for you. This is something you can put on your resume. You can separate yourself from Kiara, show that you're not just her puppet. And then, they straight up say, Kiara, we're voting for you. And we get I was tearing up watching this because Kyle is just inconsolable at this moment. He is fully bawling, and Kyle's like, Brian's like, come on, we'll go talk to her. And he's just like, yep, just give me a minute. He's very emotional, but she's come so far. She absolutely needs to be so proud of what she did here. To go from the first boot to being the one who's too big of a threat to take to the end.
Huge.
What a redemption. Brian, after redemption challenge, won. Oh my God, Kyla cries so much on camera. 32 hours later, okay, but not like that.
Well, it's 32 hours later. It's an emotional, draining experience.
Look, Brian gave like a little bit. He was tearing up. Carl's fully bawling. Like,
and there's a big difference to know that she was that close to being a Cinderella story, and then to be like right at the.
And I don't know if it's Kyle or someone says it's more than a game, and I think that's we've all been there. We know it's not. I'm a massive gamer. I love me a board game or anything, but it's not about just the game anymore at that point.
Yeah, Kiara is not a big gamer. She's not a big game player. It's not who she is, and it's not normally the person that you root for on one of these LRGs, if you're a super fan, because they're not the most incredibly interesting in a gameplay sense. She's a very nice person. She's not saying nasty, snarky shit in confessionals. She's not an ORCA by any means, but you cannot help but to root for her because of her story. Yeah. I think it is emphasized. That's why it works so well that Holly gets booted first, because it is the two sides of the same coin.
Storyline, it worked.
Seeing what happens to Holly and the emotional journey that you go through with her makes you as a viewer attached to Kiara's story, because they are similar players and similar people. And David's there in the middle doing his own thing, which is fun. But that story of redemption, the redemption challenges, and Valentina's redemption also fits in. Narratively, you couldn't ask for something better. This season lacks in gameplay in a lot of ways just because of what happens. It is a fairly boring season from that point of view, but it makes up for it in this emotional journey that you go on as a viewer that you can only get from a returnee season. The best and most emotive seasons of Survivor are returnee seasons where this is pre-existing relationships or pre-existing stories, like the whole Jerry Colby arc, right, over 3 seasons. Like, that stuff is so good to watch. Or the Tony Sarah thing at the fire, right? Yeah. Like that stuff is good because it's a story told over time. And that's what you want from your returnees. And that's what you got in spades with this season. And this moment with Kiara is one of the most powerful, and, everyone's rooting for her. Even though she's not a dynamic game bot with snarky confessionals, she's not ORCA, you're still rooting for her because, you could imagine how amazing that is to have returned and to have got to this point. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. 100%. And I think like this season as a whole, I've talked a lot about how, for me, a strong cast is going to trump anything else. And I think we do have a strong cast. It may not have been the best gameplay, as you said, but we've got a lot of really good characters here. I think that's why this season ranked so highly. And the top four like play a good game. It's just a boring game. Yeah. As a viewer. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But anyway, we get to final tribal council. Sal's opening is his SSSS2SS strategy, which is the Salvador Survivor Super Social to Strategic Specialist. That is a mouthful. But basically saying that he played a really strong social game and he was kind of a yes man. He made sure he was approachable to the other side, and then he would tell them what they wanted to hear and then just vote them out.
I don't know if Salvador had a plan around that little acronym.
We see him mention it a few rounds earlier, but it's not something we saw on day one.
It's dumb, right? It's a really dumb thing to say, and it's if the jury doesn't like you, they will fucking hate it. But if they like you, they will.
Well, Fu loved it. Fu referred to it as like the SSS squared times pi. It
is a really smart way to see how people are gauging you right away. You got a dumb little quip like that. If they don't like you, they won't fucking like it. But if they do like you,
if they're laughing at that, you're like, oh, cool. I'm good.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
I don't know if that's his strategy. We'll ask him when we get him on the show, but that's actually a really smart way to actually gauge how the jury feels about you. A dumb little joke.
Yeah. Jo talked about how she was the last person picked, but she knew she was going to be able to rely on her social game. She's a counselor. That is her job. She doesn't really talk much more about that. Val is mainly talking about challenges and redemption. She doesn't really say much about what happened when she got back in the game. She just talks about, I did this challenge, did this challenge, did this challenge. And then I worked with my OG tribe because I didn't know anyone else. And that's all we really get from her. Fu wants to know how Jo and Sal redeemed themselves. Neither of them really gave good answers here. Jo talks about how she wanted to give up at Final Four but didn't, and Sal is talking about how he ran around like headless chook but found the idol. So I'm like, I didn't really, neither of you answered the question. Casper says to Val, you got a good story coming in from redemption, but you came back in and you were dragged. You was doing what your alliance told you to do. Val basically says, no, I didn't. That's all I really get. Michael says, Sal, you've called yourself a yes man, but from Michael's perspective, Kiara was the one controlling the votes. When did you control the vote? And he said, well, I convinced Jo to vote for Kiara. And he turns around and says, well, voting out the biggest threat at Final Four isn't a good move, isn't a great move. Like, it's what you should do. And then he sort of says, well, I was driving a lot of the votes in the alliance, but I was just like making other people think it was their idea. Again, not a great answer, but I don't think he has a good answer for this question.
I think Michael was trying to give Sal a layup there.
Yeah, he was. And Sal was just like, okay.
He fumbled the layup.
Yeah.
Hit the rim, bounced off into the crowd.
And then Josh is trying to give Val a layup because, Val, I was rooting for you, but you haven't really given anything in your answers. What was your strategic move that you made? And she's like, I aligned with Sal. And then she says, I decided to push you as a vote because if you got to the end, you'd be a super winner. So, I mean, if someone's a little bit ORCA, you maybe want to pump them up a little bit. That's not terrible.
The second half isn't terrible. The first half is not. I aligned myself with this guy. Is not.
It doesn't push anything off when they say you were dragged here. It's like, yeah, I got here because I aligned with this guy. That's not going to help the case.
Yeah, no. Rachel says, all three of you prove to me why you aren't a goat. Sal is the only one who I think.
Did they? How did they prove this? I wasn't there for that part of the argument.
No, she says, tell me why you aren't a goat.
Okay.
Like, she's basically saying that this is what a goat is. Why aren't you a goat? And so Sal's the only one who answers right. He basically says, like, you guys were always trying to target me. Is that a goat? No, that's someone who you see as a threat. You want to be out. Jo basically says, yeah, I was a goat. Like, I don't really know.
Valentina
says, coming in late, Holly was robbed and Valentina should have won. There's one what I missed. There was a drag race reference in there when Valentina had immunity and she was like, they're like, do you want to give up your necklace? And it's Valentina, I think I'll keep it on. Loved that drag race reference. YouTube won't get what that means, but that was very funny. Other people in the comments will know what I'm talking about.
Eden, anyway. I don't know if you watch. Hang on. Eden, I don't know if you watched the 100 episode spectacular. If you haven't, shame on you. Go and watch it. There's errors in the wiki. Go and fix it, please.
All right. And Val's reason why she's not a goat is that it wasn't an easy game, that she had a real journey to get here. It's like, yeah, okay, but you didn't.
Val doesn't know enough about Survivor.
I'm not a goat. That's why.
Val doesn't know enough about Survivor to understand why her pre-merge shit doesn't matter, and that's her problem.
Yeah,
She's too focused on that.
Matt C says, basically, I've got an example in my head of when all three of you played me at one time or another. Can you tell me when you played me? Sal brings up the final 8, and he says he's used his social game to not let the girls flip on me. I don't know how that was playing, Matt, but that's what he says. I think Sal was just like, here's the question I've been asked. I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to tell you something else about my game that I haven't mentioned yet. I don't really care what your question is. I'm just going to make my own question. Joe,
I don't mind that. If you've got stuff that you haven't said that you're planning in answering to a question,
in somewhere.
If the question hasn't come up yet and you're running out of people, you got it. Sometimes the LRGs give you a final moment. More often they don't. Just get it out there.
Get it out.
Or the question you one of your tribe mates gets asked and you're like, oh, hold on, I want to answer that question. I'm going to jump in on you. I need to answer that question about my game. You hold on, let me talk.
Joe didn't talk about snowing Casper as a move, did she? She should have.
No, she should have. She should have. I think she was kind of resigning the fact that she wasn't winning, so it's but yeah, Joe says that I appeared ambivalent about how much of a threat I thought you were. I don't really know what she was trying to say, but yeah. And then Val was like, I don't think I did play you. And Matt says, yes, because you gave me your croissant. That was, I don't know.
It's not a spectacular final travel council.
No. Kiara then tries to give Joe a bit of a layup and says, your social game was really nuanced. Can you give me an example of that? And she's like, oh, yeah, in the Alliance, I was really pushing names. Again, no, honey, no. And then Matt B just goes, oh, yeah, my question's been answered. I don't need anything.
It's such the old guy trope. They're just like...
And that's not ORCA either. An ORCA would be like, wow, my question's been answered, but here I'm going to say something else.
No, the ORCA's like, I already decided who was going to win before any people walked in, and I'm going to just say something about myself because that's what I'm
going to monologue about myself for a couple of minutes, yeah.
Nothing you could have said has changed my mind, so I've ignored all of that. Now let's talk about me.
Yeah. And so we get Sal winning pretty, overwhelmingly. Val gets 2 votes from Jake and Matt B. Joe does get Kiara's vote, so we don't have a 0 vote finalist, which I am always happy to see, and then Sal just gets the rest.
Is this our longest coverage yet? Maybe it feels long.
You guys talked for a long time about Warrender. No, I think it's because we haven't done this in a while. We've been doing episode by episode. I think when we've done
it's a long season.
We've yada-yada'd a lot of stuff.
We have, we didn't go into this much detail in previous rankdowns. No.
This is the longest season available. It's
12 episodes.
12 episodes. Most of them go for an hour. So look, sometimes in this season, and this is where I think they really improved in season 5, it feels longer than it needs to be. It's a long merge. It's a big merge. The merge is fairly predictable.
Kyle, I was 40 minutes late and Holly was still walking over the hill.
Yeah, well, the best bit is the first episode. It's the iconic. Yeah, we were gushing about the production. We said, Kyle, the first 6 minutes were the best 6 minutes in any LRG, hands down. It's amazing. That's where Kyle's directorial skills start being seen. The emotional journey here is unparalleled. The production is unparalleled. I still think that Yards Apart's a better season and should have been.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think if Yards Apart had been a 2-day game, I think definitely it would have been much better. I think Yards Apart did feel a bit rushed.
I don't discredit the 2-day game.
It's better gameplay.
I actually don't discredit. And when I do my rankings, I consider 1-day games as 2-day games because sometimes they're harder and sometimes they're not. But I don't discredit these 24-hour games but Yards Apart is. Because while you don't have the overnight, playing for 24 hours straight almost, they're 21 hours or something.
No, I'm not discrediting the players. I'm more meaning from you're not going to get as much personal content because you don't have the time. You cannot really exit game mode. So I just think from a viewer's perspective, I prefer a 2-day game. And I think Yards Apart, there's points where it does feel a bit rushed because they are rushed. They finished at 4 a.m. or something ridiculous.
I think, and I'm not saying this deserves to be third necessarily over the others. I think part of the voting, and we'll wrap this up when we talk, about the end of this coach, is Kyle and Brian have two particularly great seasons, both of which are in the top 5, and they have 2 other seasons. It splits the votes. People that care for Brisbane or Sydney, there's one thing to vote for. And Canberra had 2, and one is yards apart in quality from the other. So it's very easy to split those. And the same applies, I think, with playing with Fire and Warrandyte. So I can see why the backyard split votes more than anything else. And,
I think I updated my ranking today, actually. I was thinking about, how do I see things? And of the 11 that we did at the point of this countdown, so taking out Backyard 5 and Canberra 3, I think I actually put this third.
Oh, yeah. As 1 and 2, the ones we're yet to see?
No.
Ooh.
So I rate Sydney quite highly. Maybe higher than most people do. I have Sydney at number 2.
Well, I won't reveal what is.
Because of the woman sitting in the middle of us tonight? Who's to say?
A little bit.
My season better be number 1 then. Anyway, we won't reveal what's number 1.
It has nothing to do with you.
It's got everything to do with you.
Because that's actually him and ORCA.
That's when I became.
I won't reveal yet what is number 2 and what is number 1. If you want to go and watch either of them so you're prepared when we get to the end of our coverage this month, you can. But it is great to be back here finishing the rank down. This was a fantastic season. It's a long season, so we did a long pod, but the emotional story is unparalleled, and I think will remain unparalleled. So many fresh ideas, like the letters from home, the redemption, the first boots coming back, the first season with an 18-person cast. It's difficult to manage a 16-person cast and get through your days. Timing-wise, managing that is very difficult. I can't imagine the logistics of 18. That would have been very challenging from a production point of view. They killed it. They pulled it off. Once again, the weather was not on their side. Hot as fuck, like it seems to always be for Backyard. That's challenging in so many ways. The players brought it. Not everyone comes to be a star. Some people try to win these games. And when you're in the heat of the moment, you sort of think about winning more than being a star. And so you get why they play a more safe game. And, it made sense for the 4 of them. And you get the outcome you get. I think the story speaks for itself. I think the entire Backyard community and Kyle and Brian especially should be very proud of this season, and obviously help them leap to an even better season, because I do think One Well is their best work.
I put One Well as number 1 on of the 13, if we're having, including the 2 we saw this year, One Well is my favorite Australian LRG.
It's very good.
Yeah, yes. I think that's unquestioned. I can't imagine anyone questioning it. And so, let's hope it does well in the upcoming LRG awards.
Got a lot of nominations. A lot of people taking votes from each other.
I'm sad at the lack of nominations for the Canberra season.
Yeah, but I think the best advantage play, they're going to be taking votes from each other. The challenge
it's the Bounty Hunter idol. It's easily the Bounty Hunter idol.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you like. It's if you didn't watch the season, it's very hard to explain the Bounty Hunter.
You can make it real. That's the thing.
I know, but the shot in the dark is just such a. Oh my gosh!
I'll be making a reel. You got to make.
I'll be voting for the Bounty Hunter thing, but yeah.
But I don't think we don't vote. We voted.
Oh yeah, it's the
judges.
Well,
I voted the Bounty Hunter to get in there, and it's in there now. But now it's up to the judges. We voted for the nominees, not for who wins. You got to make a reel that explains it. So I will make a reel for the ORCA pod so that we can put our best foot forward, because we are nominated as well. Yay, go us!
Woo. Including live reality games are nom as well. So we win if they win as well.
Maybe I don't really feel that.
We're part of
it. I guess. I feel like Dustin wins if LRG wins. Mark,
he did shout us out.
What?
When the nominations were announced, he sort of went through all the people that make it live, and he talked about us.
He talked about 100 eps coming up. all the stuff we
Yeah.
do.
And we cover everything Australian.
I think it was Dustin. I think it was someone else that just covered all.
Yeah, it wasn't Dustin, it was someone else.
Oh, okay, I
I
don't
think it was
remember.
the same what all the pods were. I don't know who that was, but yeah, cool guy.
But I think we had the longest like breakdown.
Yeah, we did. That's because we do the most stuff, and I'll be making a reel about it. And I hope that everyone that's nominated, I hope Kyle is back there making reels. Kyle, right now I'm sure you're making reels for all of your people, so they all have the best chance of winning.
Mark better win villain. Like,
yeah, I actually voted for Eden for best player, and or Loz. I think I voted for Loz. I voted for Eden for something.
player
And
or
Loz for
best
something.
villain?
I voted Mark best villain.
Mark better win best villain is what I said.
I voted Eden for something, and I voted for Loz for something, and neither of them got nominated. So I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I voted Loz for best player.
I think I might have voted Eden into that best new player or something, just to split it around. Like,
yeah.
Very sad that Canberra hasn't gotten in as much, because I think it was
Just when we thought editing season 5 was over. Nope.
He is
Go
making
make another
reels.
reel.
He is
Go
making
to
reels.
awards.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I look forward to that next week. We'll be back. Hopefully, I have slid into Salvador's DMs and he has not responded. So Kyle,
Yeah, I'll get on that.
Kyle, let Salvador know that I need him here next week for our deep dive with the winner. Then we will have the tea party and the ORCA production, etc. Looking at doing another show in the middle, but until I can confirm attendees, I'm not going to announce it because I don't want to build it up and then everyone be disappointed. But maybe I'll have time to organize that and announce it next week. So then, thank you for everyone that stuck around for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Kyle, Mark, Josh, Michael was here for a while.
All the people that will be watching all 3 hours later.
I think Michael went to bed after he got booted. And Eden for joining in late. Good to see you too, mate. Thank you, everyone. If anyone's listening to this at this point, if you're in Canberra, make sure you're at our Canberra live ORCA drinks. It's not just drinks; it's a live show. There'll be live Twelsh. There'll be live presentations.
Study again. I got to study again.
Yeah, live presentations of Bromelo medals to the Orcas in attendance, just like we will do in Perth later this year. So I know everyone here is a Perth person, but except for, well, I guess, Eden, you're coming, right? You better be coming. That's how we did this date. People's champion.
Because it's a people's champion.
I'm probably going to get really drunk if anyone wants to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Sounds good. Be there, be square. We will see you next week. Until then, we will dance. I need a good line to say when we finish. What do you think? Until then, we will dance.